Welcome to the live. Welcome to the live. So, switching it up today. Instead of starting with TikTok, today we're going to start with a YouTube story. So, I was scrolling through YouTube today and I saw this story, and it is of a creator, and her YouTube creator name is Chat with Jazz. And I think that this is a story that we want to talk about. It's real life. It is actually unfolding in real time, right? So she's sharing her experience on YouTube, and it is an experience that many women resonate with. Okay. And the reason why is because marriages take place every day, as well as divorce take place every day, right? The divorce rate and statistic is so high, and Jasmine shares her experience in a deep level of vulnerability. So we listen and we don't judge, right? It's easy when someone shares their life to come to the story time with a great deal of judgment. But we do have to understand that there are three sides to every story. So oftentimes, the bravest party is the one that comes to social media in order to share their experience. Maybe there are some times where another party will also come and share, right? And so, depending on how viral that story goes, this video has generated around 27,000 views. So, depending on the virality, you will see sometimes where you will get another side to the story. So, this is unfolding in real time. So, we will see if we get an additional side to this story if the husband comes forth. But just take a listen. We're going to stop throughout the video to chat in order to talk about what it is that's being shared here on YouTube, right? So the name of this video, it says, I helped my husband build just to be discarded and made a single mom. So right off the bat there, one thing I will say is that elicits sympathy, right? And the reason why is because many women can relate, you know, they can relate to being left. Men can relate. Okay, let me get the banner going. Give me 1 second. One second here, Roy. People, we're going to get back into the. And don't forget, and I'm adding it to the banner, but don't forget to purchase a copy of our newest books on Barnes and Nobles. You can find that in the link in the channel description. You can also subscribe to the channel. And we're going to start that banner going as well. Let's see here. Show this. All right, so we're going to get that set up. So many women can relate, right? And the huge topic that many talk about in regards to the similar situation, the divorce rate, helping someone build. Now, many individuals will caution you, and it's a word to the wise, right? About building a man. The time that it takes, the intellectual level that it takes, right? Taking your time out, because whenever you're building someone, building a business, building something, it is going to require time, effort, energy, intellect. And so while you're building someone else, you're not building yourself. But it should be a difference in marriage because two parties are normally building together. So don't want to talk too much before the video because I want to be able to digest it, take it in as we're watching it together. And then I'll come back at the end and talk a little bit more. So I watched the video earlier. It's about, let's see what we have here in total. I think it's about a 14-minute. What's the total one? Okay, yep. So it's about 14 minutes in total. So we're going to come back. I'm also going to share another video from her channel, which is going to be more like a follow-up. Like I said, this is a story that's unfolding right now. It's her real life, prayers really to her family, right? Because again, looking at it from one side, you're going to definitely take in the empathy and the empathetic side in terms of, she's a single mom now navigating life with her 3 children. And so my prayer is that because I know that marriage is holy and it is also honored by God, right? So as much as individuals will jump into the comment section and take a side, choose a side, we're going to have obviously a lot of women that are going to relate. But this was a 15-year marriage. This was not something that happened lightly, right? That she was together with this man for quite some time. She did say that she's in her 30s now, so she didn't give a specific age, but prayers to the family because really you never know what will happen, right? People can separate and they can get back together. You don't know for sure. But one thing we do know is that there are kids involved, there are children involved. This is their real life. So just want to be sensitive in how we approach the topic and what kind of judgment you ultimately give. So let's get this video started here. Don't forget to like.
Hey, you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you have been here before, if you have not been here before, my name is Jasmine, and I talk about a lot of different things. I talk about family dynamics. I talk about the culture, just life, family. I talk about it all. But today we're going to be talking about single parent households, also the failure of a lot of men when it comes to that. Also, we're going to use me as an example and why not to build a man or think that you're helping to build a man and a family. I am pro-family, but at the same time, I live in reality. And I know that I'm just one person in this entire world that has an experience. But when you see that a lot of women are going through the same thing and they're saying that a problem is universal, it's worth taking a look at. It's worth stepping back and saying that this is a problem. I used to think that it was just a generational curse or a curse on the Black community because I am Black, and I know that it is a major problem. It's a major issue. But now I'm starting to see that it's not just us. This is...
Snap your W-2 and file your taxes 100% free. Plus, get your biggest refund. Roughly 37% of filers qualify. Simple Form 1040 returns only. No schedules except for Earned Income Tax Credit, Child Tax Credit, and Student Loan Interest. File now.
What's that?
It's compounded hogwash.
Bet those weight loss meds ain't FDA approved.
Smells like snake oil to me. Horse? This here's the real deal. Yeehaw!
Weight loss plans for $59 per month plus med cost. Check.
It's going on in all races. It's going on in all different backgrounds, ages. It's being exposed. I'm still pro-family, and I always will be, but I look at it through a different lens now. It's not a fairy tale. It's not something that should be taken lightly. Me, just to give you a little background, I got married when I was young. Okay, I'm still young. I'm in my 30s, my late 30s, but I've been married for 15 years. And I feel like I didn't have any.
And we're going to stop it right here. So, just something that I want to say off the bat in terms of a talking point. So, we know statistically it is cited that about 40 to 50% of marriages end in divorce. That's the statistics off the bat. And so, oftentimes, when you're standing, you're giving your vows, you're building your dreams, 40 to 50% of those marriages end in divorce. And then the newer data now suggests it's closer to about 40 to 45%. But the common reasons for divorce, separation, going from that union, that marriage, right, is that people marry young. So, right off the bat, before hearing too much of the story, you can tell if she says that they were married for about 15 years and she is in her 30s now, they married young, right? Before they really knew what they wanted out of life. So you talk about your dreams, your goals, your desires, which is very important. But another factor that happens is the person you are mentally, right? Physically, spiritually, in your teens, in your 20s, even as she's evolving, she's still really young in your 30s. That person will change over time. Change is normal, change is uncomfortable, but change happens. So, getting married younger, you do see long lasting marriages that happen when individuals are in their youth. I've seen people that are married for 30 years, 40 years. They've been married for a number of years and they have changed, but they've grown together, not apart. So, there are certain principles that happen within a marriage foundation when you are equally yoked with that individual that can be seen because a relationship will go through tests, trials, tribulations, turmoil. And when this happens, as long as you're in a space of constantly communicating and not breaking down and running your separate ways, right? The individuals that normally tend to rely on family or outside opinions or opinions of friends, they're the ones that get jaded inside of a marriage because they don't have their own philosophy, their own level of understanding. So we'll understand a little bit more as this story breaks down. But it's going to come into you were young, you're changing. Communication and conflict is another issue that is often happening in marriages. When that breaks down, when you no longer want to communicate with your partner, when you feel trapped, sometimes you have to have those uncomfortable conversations in the relationship, right? No one is a marriage expert. Even those individuals that sit on panels and they give advice and they scroll off statistics, right? When real life happens, you have to be able to navigate that because you stand in front of God and an officiant and you say, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer. And oftentimes people are just standing in front of that officiant and saying those reasons. And women, we are guilty of it in that because you want the marriage so bad, because you desire that. There are a lot of things that you may turn a blind eye to, but you have to understand what you are verbalizing, what you are speaking into the ear in terms of what a marriage really takes, right? I'm pretty sure those individuals that end in divorce don't think that they're going to get a divorce, but the rate is so high. So that's indicative of there being a problem. It's a greater problem, right? So because we haven't heard the husband's side, it's going to be easy to have an opinion. But let's get into the video a little further here.
Anybody to tell me or to warn me. I had people there, but they didn't. They didn't. So I am making these videos to help the younger generation. I'm doing my part. And it's not to deter you from family. It's not to deter you from marriage, but it's to warn you and let you know that there are things that you should definitely be on the lookout for. Because if not, you can find yourself being trapped in a situation that is not good. It's not good at all. And you guys will have to excuse my baby. He's going to be making noises, grunting, doing the whole nine because I'm trying to record a video. And that's how it works when you have children. Just a little bit of background about me. If you didn't know, like I said, I've been married for a while now. It's been over a decade. I got married in my early 20s. We went through our entire 20s together. And we started having children together in 2021 because we had some fertility issues, which is a whole nother topic. And it just kind of sorted itself out with some lifestyle changes that he made. We now have 3. This is our youngest one. He's 4 weeks old. I want to just talk to the women out there about building a man and the things that you should look for whenever you are trying to find a spouse that I didn't know. I went off of potential. I went off of what I thought that person could be. I went off of words. And
we're going to pause it right here. So I want to stop here because we hear oftentimes of individuals going off of potential. She says, I went off of potential. So here she's being vulnerable. She's talking about what was done in the marriage, where she went wrong, right? Oftentimes you hear, do not go off of potential. In life, though, right? It's a mix because you want to garner faith and trust in your partner, but potential doesn't lend for a great relationship. People can have great potential and they fail. You can have great potential. You can fill out 100 job applications and then you get the job and then you are not successful in the job. So guess what? Your potential will not help you to keep the job. Your potential will not help you to make money, right? You have to actually be disciplined. You have to do the work. Potential will get you in, but what you actually do, real life, is what keeps you there. And so she says that in her marriage, it was 15 years, right? So that means she had quite a bit of time as she was growing with her partner to be able to see past potential. So potential is what got them there. They talked about dreams, desires, visions that they had for their family, but the potential fell through, right? So let's start back up here.
And not action so much. When you're looking for a man, when you want to have a spouse, you need to get with a man that has ambition.
Do you know what eating banana can do to your liver? Bananas are actually edible when they're still green, but what many people don't know is that
on his own, whether you're there or not, he is ambitious. He knows how to keep a job. He stays on his job for years. He's not quitting a job before he has another one lined up, because that shows instability. If he's quitting before he has another job lined up, that is a major red flag. He's not ready to have a family. When a man asks you to build with him, listen, this is one that you need to tread very lightly, because I was years into my marriage when my husband presented this to me. And I thought, what a great idea. Turned out to be a total nightmare. It was good in the beginning, but it slowly went bad.
Okay. So she talks about here building. So now we've gone from a place of obviously her saying, potential isn't good enough. the man has to be ambitious, right? And now I would say ambition and potential is almost goes hand in hand, because you can be ambitious, right? You can shoot for the stars. You can have that potential to be great, but if you are not putting in the work, the dedication, the discipline, then there's no guarantees in life, right? And so he asked her to help him build. They're in a marriage. This isn't, just a 2-year relationship. It's not a 3-year. They're inside of a marriage, inside of a holy covenant, and building takes place. One thing I noticed that she mentioned in the beginning of the video is that she didn't have a village, right? So oftentimes, another reason for marriages ending in divorce and failing is because you've never really had that principal foundation. If you do not put God at the center of your relationship, it will not work. So she didn't have any individuals that she could call on that may have had a successful marriage that could help her to navigate when she was experiencing a storm. And again, there are no guarantees, but it's great to be able to have a village. It's good to be able to say, what did you do, mom, auntie, sister, cousin, when the times got rough? What are some examples? What are some skills? What are some things that you can give me to encourage me as a woman trying to navigate marriage, right? And so without that village, you're kind of somewhere drifting off in the sea by yourself, trying to understand, trying to navigate, trying to figure it out on your own, right? So here, she's helping him build, but maybe if she had that village, someone would have told her some of the skills that were needed or required to build successfully. Because as you will hear later on in her story, right? She goes and she starts to navigate again like a single mom. If you're married, it's okay to have separate accounts, right? You have your account, he has his. But as a stay-at-home mom, you're not bringing in any money financially. You're doing a good load of the work, and I'm pretty sure your husband is appreciative of that. But when you're not bringing in any finances, then you have to have some rules around finances that will help you to feel accommodated, right? So whether that is having a separate account, whether that's obviously having a joint account with your spouse so you know what the figures look like, so you're navigating. So if you're staying at home, then you can now navigate from this account to pay bills and things of that nature to help invest back into the business, to help invest in stocks, bonds, things of that nature. So not having that financial management system can be tough, because it seems now as though the finances were just his, and she doesn't have a safety net. She had to resort to living with family. Let's get back into the
downhill very, very fast. Especially when we started having kids. That's when things just went south, because we started a business at the same time. Let me just take you guys through there just very briefly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about my situation, but it's very relevant to the why I look at things through a different lens when it comes to family. He's a blue collar man, so he was using his hands. He was working for another company, a business, and I was saying to him, I'm like, why don't you do this on your own? Why don't we just start a business? I knew that he had dreams of being an entrepreneur, and that was something that he really wanted to do. He wanted to go about it a different way through contracts, but I saw a vision that was beyond that. I knew that the two of us together we were unstoppable. We could have so much more than that. And when he didn't believe in himself, because he told me, he's like, no, I don't think that's going to work. It's going to take too long. He didn't believe in himself. People around him didn't believe. I believed in him. I said, no, let's do it. Let's try it. And we did. It was like that. I went and started advertising. I started doing all of these different things. All of the back end stuff I handled. He did the actual labor. And it was good. Like, it just took off. It was amazing, actually. What ended up happening was I got pregnant again. So our second child is when things drastically changed. We were already doing well in the business. And I thought everything was good. And I got pregnant with our second child. I started noticing things. He was making decisions, major decisions without me. He was going.
And that is red flag number one. If you're in a partnership, if you're in a business, obviously, if you're in a marriage, right, you want to ensure that you're communicating. So she's saying from her standpoint, her viewpoint of the story, she helped her husband build, right? So she helped him go from having that work mentality, that job mentality, to an entrepreneurship and mentality, to being able to own your own business, right? So she says she started navigating and doing the back end work in order to help to make the business successful. But at some point during the marriage, right, during the business being established and built out, she says that he started to navigate without her. So making big decisions, not checking in. So he is doing the actual physical labor. And I think oftentimes when you're in that marriage or in that relationship, the person that is actually the one that is executing the work may feel like they have more rights to the business. But if it's a partnership, it's two people working together, establishing that business, the contract, and so on.
Into the back end of things and not taking into consideration the things that I was saying. I don't even have enough time to get all the way into it, but long story short,
I'm not 20 anymore, I'm 47. I do articulation training for 9 minutes a day. Now my thoughts come out clean and my boss asks me for advice. If you want to actually sound smart and take the leadership, train your speaking skills.
How to articulate thoughts into words more clearly.
By training communication the same way you'd train any other skill. 28 days of communication exercises and your thoughts will organize themselves before you speak.
How long until I actually see results?
On day 3, you'll know how to practice communication in the most effective way. On day 7, you'll sound more eloquent and confident. On day 14, you'll be the best speaker in any room.
Most people think communication is just chit-chat, but in reality, it's one of the most powerful skills you can master. The way you speak reveals how you think, how confident you are, and how other people perceive you. Once you understand how to train it, you can strengthen your presence, express yourself clearly, and connect with anyone. Ready to become unrecognizable? Take the quick test now and get a personalized communication mastery plan. Just tap the screen and get started.
I'm 61 and today I'm switching from walking to Tai Chi. I hope it helps my joints. This is me after 28 days of Tai Chi. And yesterday, my neighbor asked what I did to my knees.
On Monday, March 30th, we're starting the Tai Chi program for beginners. Build strength and lose up belly fat with just 7 minutes a day. In 1 week, you'll feel it. In 2 weeks, you'll see it. In a month, you'll be turning heads. Start March 30th. You in?
This is day 1 of my sister practicing Tai Chi.
This is day 28 of my sister
practicing Tai Chi.
On Monday,
he started moving in a different direction without including me. And it kind of like went to his head. He started like, oh, I'm the big shot basically. And you're down here, I'm up here, stay in your place, is what he was giving off. That went on for a long time. There was one particular decision that was made that cost us a lot. But the problem was that I tried to warn him before he did it. I was so adamant about not doing it. And guess what? He did it anyway. There is nothing worse when you have enough foresight to see that something is going to happen and it's not going to be good. And you try to warn the person that you love that they shouldn't do it, but they do it despite your warnings, despite what you're saying. So it breaks the trust between you two. It just went nosedive from there. It was like a domino effect. It took a toll on our marriage. It ruined our business relationship. That was the beginning of ruining our business relationship, because there was so much stuff that happened after that as well. But when you are working with your spouse, you're married and you're doing business together. So you never get a break. That also took a toll on our marriage. Before you know it, I'm pregnant again. Like I said, the kids would not stop coming in. If I was still with him, I definitely would be getting my tubes removed or tied. By the end, where things just were not going to get any better, and we both knew that it was over. I knew that it was over. He knew that it was over. He had a very bad attitude towards me. In the beginning, where it was us and we were doing this together, it had completely went to his head, and now it was him and what he built. A lot of people like to talk about how in marriage it's what's his is yours and what's yours is his. Listen, when you go through a divorce, when people come into money that they didn't have before, never had in their entire life, you see a different side of people. You are going to see that person's true colors. And yeah, that may be the case that, you have these different things that the court may see as joint, but who wants to go through all of that? Who wants to go through a nasty divorce? It's not going to be handed to you. You have to go to court and fight for those things. If you've been a stay-at-home mom where he's the only one with access to the money,
taxes was so taxing.
Now taxes.
what are you going to do? You have to be able to afford an attorney, or you go in pro se and you have to do all of these things, navigate this on your own. So it's like there's so much to unpack. But with all of that being said, it has changed my entire view on marriage, relationships, family, and single parent households. I used to judge single women, that not necessarily the ones that were married and had their kids in wedlock and it just didn't work out, but women.
Now listen to that. That's why I said we listen and we don't judge, because as she said, she used to judge single women. From the outside looking in, it's easy to judge. It's easy to have that judgmental characteristic because you don't know the full details. Even in this story that she's telling, and I don't mean as a story, but even as she's explaining her personal situation, right? What's evolving throughout her divorce, it'll be so easy to say that there are 3 sides to every story, and she could be omitting something, she can be lying. You just don't want to have that judgment. And that is because we don't know the full story, right? in a marriage, it does take two people to tango, two people to work on a marriage, right? And she knew the factors that helped her to decide if this was a marriage that she wanted to enter into, as well as her husband knows the factors or the qualities or the characteristics that he was seeking in a partner. Now, a breakdown does happen as she unfolds and continues to tell her story. She talks about, and I notice she's not really heavy on it now, but about the breakdown, about infidelity, about the spouse stepping outside of the marriage, right? But one thing you'll see also in the second video that we'll play on the channel is that that wasn't the deciding factor for this individual when looking to determine on whether or not she should dissolve the marriage or dissolve the relationship. So there were other factors, other things that came into consideration when thinking about how do I navigate. Now, she's not exiting the marriage as she entered. She entered as a young, naive woman with dreams, goals, ambition. And as the marriage evolved, she became a mother. That plays a huge role and part. She does not have just one child, but she has 3 children. So now she has to think and consider other factors outside of herself. You heard her mention not falling for potential, how ambition plays a role in the marriage, right? So in her mindset, again, the video is titled, I Help My Husband Build. In her mindset, she utilized the tools, the intellect, in order to help her husband build. As he started to gain this money, as he started to look at life differently, his perspective may have changed. The desires change. They say oftentimes who a person builds with is not that same individual that they end with. Because the one that builds with you remembers everything. They remember nights in the project, sleepless nights, nights when you were broke, you didn't have anything. So now you're established. But the warning sign, oftentimes, or the warning to men, is that it's easy for someone to be with you when you are established or well off, right? And I'm not saying you want to not be attracted to your partner. Hold on, let's update, subscribe. 1 second. So we're updating the ticker. So, yes, money changes people. Anyone that says money doesn't change them, they don't understand, especially new money, right? So you have some people that are used to money, finances, wealth, and then you have some individuals that grind, hustle, and they get money later on, but it is something that will change you. You go from a place of being broke to never being broke again. So you remember the broke days. I mean, for people that have gotten it through the mud, that have struggled, that knows what it's like to receive EBT food stamps, right? That knows what it's like to have to put back groceries, have an idea of the things that you want, but you can't afford that at checkout. So going from that space to a space where you can afford anything that you want, it changes people. Because who's to say, oftentimes for this particular case, right? The woman that he ends up with isn't the one that he's married, how it's navigating currently. So his desires changed. What he wanted in a partner changed. He doesn't have that grace any longer. Or maybe he could have wanted to exit the marriage a long time ago as well. 15 years, that's a long time. That's not just a fly-by-night relationship. You navigated over a decade, right? She said initially in the marriage that it took them a while to conceive because their oldest child currently is 4 years old. So if you've been married for 15 years and your oldest is 4 years, that tells us a lot about what was transpiring in the marriage over a decade before even kids came. But when the kids came, that's where she said the problems came, right? And you hear people expressing that, how children change the dynamic of a relationship. So was there maybe conflict in parenting and how you raise the children? Because they talked about their dreams, their visions, their goals, their desires, but then the children came. But it still leaves you with questions. Question number one, if you navigated so long, if the marriage was successful, if you were being built in the marriage, when the children come, is that when a man, a father chooses to leave? It makes you question what kind of father would do that. She's standing with a 4-week-old. We're not judging. We're just asking questions to be able to get a level and garner a level of understanding. She's holding a 4-week-old child in her hands. And for a man that would have wanted children, how do you leave a 4-year-old? Their children are between 4 years old and 4 weeks old. She didn't mention the age of the third child. You don't know many men that leave their children, that abandon their children. So what are we not understanding from this story? People say a lot, but they leave out a lot. So let's navigate, let's listen, and we'll go to the second video. And then we're going to go into the TikTok world and see what we find today. You know, TikTok takes you on quite a journey. So let's see what side we land on today.
Who chose to just go into it, never been married, and just having children. When things happen to you, start to see that, hey, maybe it's not what I thought it was. I think that men have a big responsibility when it comes to family, and they are falling short. A lot of us women want family, and we want it beyond just because we're building something together in a legacy. This is in our nature. This is what we desire as women. We want our children to grow up with both parents. For the most part, I feel like that was used against me, and it kept me trapped for so long because my heart desired something so bad. I endured a lot of things that I shouldn't have. I stayed for much longer than I should have because I was trying to hold on to something that was not going to happen. And I prolonged the situation to the point that it hurt me more than it helped me. Men have a responsibility and a duty. It's biblical to be kind and be good to their wives. You're supposed to treat your wife the way that Christ treated the church or looked at the church. And a lot of men are not godly enough to even do those things these days. A lot of people are not godly enough to carry out these, what it takes to manage, run, operate, and keep two individuals together and raise their children. But I say all of that to say that that is what I wanted. And I know that I went in with it with my heart. It didn't work out, no matter how hard I tried. And I know that he put forth some effort too, but this is why I believe and I say that it's almost like a curse. No matter how much you want it, if it doesn't work out, you feel like a failure. That's one of the reasons why I am going to be posting more. I'm going to be talking about these things on my channel. I'm going to be doing reaction videos as well. I'm going to continue to do that with women who have gone through similar experiences. I'm going to be reacting to their videos and giving my opinion. Let me know what you guys want to see in the comments. If you have any questions or if you're going through something similar and you just want me to give my advice, make a video about it, I will. Please like, subscribe, and share this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.
A healthy liver helps your body process food. All right, Dad, what are you making? My new go-to morning smoothie. What's that? This is the secret ingredient. This.
Chat with Jazz. Okay, so we're going to go to the second video and I'm going to pause that. 1 second. Let's see, which one did we just watch? We watched I Help My Husband Build. We're going to go to this one next. I'm going to pause this really quickly. We're just updating the StreamYard. So one thing that I will say with the way that she ended the video in terms of like helping the husband build, I can tell by the way that she shares her life story that this moment is going to be very therapeutic for her because she is a young mom, a newly divorced mom, or going through a divorce. And oftentimes when you meet a creator that is authentic, that is real, that shares their life in this manner, one, they build rather quickly. So right now she is at about 3,000 subscribers on her channel. The way that she articulates, the way that she shares her story, very smart. You can tell that she is enduring the life experiences in a way that is going to help her to navigate successfully, right? Because one thing that she mentioned in this new video that's upcoming is that she's happy that this experience has transpired at a time when she was young, because the older you get, the harder it is to start over, right? So in your 50s and your 60s, not to say that you can't, we have seen success stories at every age, but it becomes a little bit more challenging because you're left in a space by yourself. So let's take a look at the second video.
What I'm learning as I get older and I'm going on this journey, your peace is priceless. Hey y'all, my name is Jasmine. Welcome back to my channel. If you have been here before, if you have not, welcome in. I'm glad that y'all are here and that y'all are interested enough to come along with me on my journey of going through a divorce, a separation and a divorce from my husband of 15 years. Today's video is going to be more so talking about the grief that I have been going through and just my experience since leaving that relationship, where I'm at mentally with things, because it's hard. I was 30 weeks pregnant when I discovered that my husband was having an affair and that he no longer wanted to be with me. To say that I was shocked would be saying the least. I was totally blindsided because I felt like I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything to deserve what was given to me and the new life that me and my kids would have to go through. Being pregnant and going through a divorce when you were a stay-at-home mom with barely any income outside of what your husband brought in, I would not wish that on my worst enemy. It was so hard. And I don't know what I would have done if it were not for my family stepping in and encouraging me to leave the situation all the way, and them helping me to.
And we're going to pause it right here. So we're going to go through a few different stories today in terms of very similarly aligned to what Jazz is talking about in this video. And let me say that one thing I heard her mention here is that she found out while she was pregnant, like 30 weeks pregnant. That's almost towards the end of your pregnancy, if not the end of pregnancy. And that is not the time where, with all of the things that you're going through, pregnancy, especially for the African American woman, is a high risk event. Many women, unfortunately, pass during pregnancy, right? So this is the third child she's pregnant. She finds out. But the stay-at-home mom thing is what I believe helps a lot of her audience to be able to resonate with her, because you're at home, you don't have a job. I believe she said that she became a stay-at-home mom once they had their first child, which the child is now 4 years. So that lets you know how long she's been a stay-at-home mom. So being fully out of the workforce when a challenge like that presents itself, you don't have a rainy day fund, you have nothing to fall back on. And you are hoping that this person that you had planned to build a life with still presents himself or still shows up as a valiant individual. Because oftentimes money is the huge divide within a relationship. Whoever makes the most is considered to be the powerful party in that relationship. So a lot of things are having to be navigated at the same time of finding out that, hey, your partner hasn't been faithful to you. It's got to be challenging.
Realize the situation that I was in, because it was not easy being with someone for 15 years and then going through that. Even the betrayal, you still, for some reason, you're still attached to that person. It doesn't make it any easier. If anything, it makes it harder, even with the betrayal, is what I'm saying. I have to grab my baby. I'll be right back. So I want to go back a little bit. Am I saying that I was perfect throughout the marriage and I did everything right? No, I definitely did not. But I know that I was loyal. I know that I was in love. I know that I was there through thick and thin. I know that I forgave many times over and over. And I know the type of life that we talked about that both of us supposedly wanted for our children and our family, only for me to feel like it was all a lie. It was not real. I don't even know if any of the marriage was real, to be honest. I feel like I was used. I feel totally betrayed. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust anyone again on the same level, honestly, which is very sad because it's not what I wanted for my life. And the reason why I am sharing what I went through is because I know that there are men, there are women, there are other people who have similar experience as me. I want you to know that you're not alone. Whether you've gone through it in the past or you are going through it now, you will get through it. I feel like I'm not in the thick of it anymore. The thick of it was when I was pregnant. It was one of the hardest things that I have ever had to go through. And if you go through my channel and you look at some of my previous videos, you would never even know. You would not be able to tell by the way that I look that I was going through something. I always try to.
And I agree. After going down the line from being introduced to her first video, which talks about building a man, that had me going down the line in terms of her channel just to get a better understanding of who this creator is, right? And I did go back and look at one of her videos, and she was in the car talking about the reasons why you don't want to be a stay-at-home mom, the reasons why you should have like a nest egg and your own account and things of that nature. And so you can tell again that she has learned, she has wisdom in the situation. The only thing I will say from the outside looking in, again, not trying to push judgment on this individual, is that sometimes as women, we don't know how to take full accountability. So in order to fully learn from any experience that you have, because a relationship is not a one-sided event, because it is two-sided and two parties are involved in the relationship, oftentimes you will hear a woman explain that they did not do anything wrong. It lends to a perspective where you would assume that the person lacked emotional intelligence, right? And I'm not saying that she had to do something wrong. I'm not saying that there was a physical event that she could identify with. But emotional intelligence will tell us that there is a space where you must take some level of accountability for what transpires in any relationship, whether that's marriage, girlfriend and boyfriend, your relationship with your family, your relationship with your friends, your relationship with your colleagues. And I'm not just talking about this creator specifically, but in general, right? So did she have to do something wrong in terms of that prompted or positioned her husband to seek affection outside the house? I'm not playing the blame game in that regards. But what I am saying is that sometimes in a relationship, we could be lacking in communication, right? Sometimes we could be lacking in the way that we show up. Sometimes we can be lacking in areas and could have been lacking for such a long time. And maybe our partner brought it to our attention and we felt comfortable and did not feel like we had to change. Does that make sense? So, if your partner, for example, says, okay, I would love for you to lose weight, right? And it's year number 1, and they're working with you. They're like, let's work out. Let's do a 10-minute exercise. Let's climb the mountain. Let's go to the gym. Let's go for a walk. That is your partner bringing to your attention something that could help you. And you have the opportunity, the ability. The video had went viral on one of the podcasts where the woman stated that her partner left her because they signed a contract and she didn't lose weight. She wasn't showing up in the relationship. It could be the same thing for men. They can have or be lacking in a different area. But all I'm speaking about in this very moment is just being able to take accountability. You may not want to divulge or expose the reasons why, for example, your partner may have left, and that's totally up to you. But understand that the listeners, the audience, you're always going to have a two-sided audience, right? You're going to have that audience that is rooting for the single mom, and they're going to be saying, hey, you're such a jerk for leaving. And then you're going to have the other side of that audience that says, hey, well, she probably did something that made the man leave. As you evolve out and you tell the story, at some point for her own growth, her own understanding, I just pray that not to blame herself, but to look at maybe red flags that you may have missed in the relationship, or to look at some things you may have brushed under the rug, or maybe feeling in a space of being comfortable and not fully showing up. Something had to occur on your part when you do the work and the growth for you to say, okay, I know I want to show up differently in the future. Sometimes it's something that you can work on in the current relationship. It's not something that you have to evolve out and say, okay, I have to wait. Who's to say that the door is fully closed to their marriage? No one knows. All we know is that they're going through a divorce. Is it permanent? Maybe he can be with that party that he's with currently, and then things will change. You never know. So let's finish up this video and we'll go straight to TikTok.
Put on a face of being stoic or being strong. And I'm realizing that sometimes you can't do that. It's only to your benefit to grieve and go through the process. Do I want to be sad all the time? No. I don't feel like I'm sad all the time. I actually feel good most days, but I have moments. I have moments where I look back and I look at my life and I'm like, wow, I don't understand how I got here. I did everything that I thought was right on the grand scheme of things. Like I said, I was not perfect, but just everything in whole, I thought that I was making the right decision. And it just, when you're out of it and you look and you see what you have been through, you're no longer in that situation. It's kind of like, wow, how did I let this go on for so long? And y'all are going to hear my baby. This is my life. I cannot help it. My baby is sucking on his little pacifier. I wanted to talk about the grief and the 3 things that I feel like bother me the most, because it's not the infidelity. It's not the betrayal that comes with that. It's not what I thought it was going to be, basically, to put that out there. I didn't think that the things that would bother me once the dust started to settle would bother me. The main thing that I feel like I think about the most, that gets me the most emotional, is when I think about the beginning of our relationship. And I think about the dreams that we had, and just when I think about what we said that we wanted, and it's hard to think about the beginning of the relationship because that's when things were so good. When you think about the good times, you start comparing them to the end and the bad times, and you wonder how you got there. It could be a very traumatic thing to go through. I don't think people understand how emotional and how much of a heavy burden and cross it is to bear. That leads me into the second thing that bothers me, is the children, because when you go through a divorce, obviously the children are involved. the biggest thing for me is I thought that we would have this life, like we would create this life for our children, that we would raise them differently than what we were raised. It's just so unfortunate. I didn't ask for this. It's not something that I necessarily wanted. Anybody who's gone through a divorce and you have children, you know that it affects them. Luckily, my children are still at a very young age. Most of it they probably will not remember. And by the time that we are fully through this entire situation, it'll just be a new normal to them. Hopefully they won't be too affected by what has gone on. And then the third thing that bothers me is that there is no reconciliation. I'm to the point where I don't even want to talk to him.
I've been a pastor for over 20 years. This is a very important message that I urge every American to pay close attention to.
I don't even want to talk to him because I cannot forgive. So it makes it hard.
So I'm going to stop here really quickly. So she talks about grieving the marriage being over, knowing that it was over, similar to how people experience that grief, right? Even in death, just being able to go through the different stages. And so here she talks about how it affects the children, but they're young right now. The effects would be felt after the marriage, and about there being no reconciliation. Now, definitely understandable. Again, she's young, she's in her 30s, and she is having to navigate a new normal, to have a level of understanding of when a relationship is over. Because as you can see, based on what she talked about, her desires being their dreams building together, she was never expecting for there to be a dissolution, a dissolving of the marriage. So now she is having to navigate this new normal of how do I financially take care of these 3 children that we decided together that we were going to raise. That has to be like a earth-shattering, a life-shattering experience, because she never thought that the children would walk without their dad being present, that they would experience milestones and she would be the only party that is a witness to that. So here you have a great sense of loss, of pain, of grief, right? And over time, when it comes to having that skill of parenting, co-parenting, you pray that that will change, right? Because if there's no reconciliation, then now the kids are observing a dynamic and a relationship that is unhealthy. And as parents, you try to display or show forth relationships that will help your kids to be able to navigate healthy relationships. They are watching, they are observing, even if they are young. I saw someone in the comment section say that they were the product of a marriage that was divorced. They were in that as children, and that took hold to them, and it changed the way that their perspective of how they view and navigated through life, because they saw their mother hurt, they saw their father leave. You're going to look at it from a perspective of why. And children often do ask those questions when they are able to vocalize it. So when they come of age, that is the first thing that they ask is why. And who's left to answer those questions? Oftentimes, it will be the mom that is present, that is giving her side of the story. But there are more sides to that story. There are more things to navigate, right? Because if you take an introspective look, looking emotionally intelligent at what transpired, you will be able to say, these are some of the things that I could have done differently. Sometimes it's a small thing. Sometimes the dissolution, the dissolving of a marriage is not based on major things. It's based on small things that could be worked on, right? So if it's a matter of communication, if you're not communicating with your partner, that's small. That's something that you can work on. You can get a counselor. You can learn to communicate. You can read books. You can take the necessary steps in order to become better at communication. So that's a small thing, but it compounds and it can become a huge thing if it is not worked on, if it's left unchecked. Sometimes people are not able to have those uncomfortable conversations because when it gets uncomfortable, then they're out. And oftentimes you will hear a defense mechanism from some women is, I feel. That is a part of our feelings, our emotions, which is understandable. You should be able to vocalize that I feel, but understand your feelings are not navigating the real situation. Just because I feel a certain way, that doesn't mean that it's the truth. I feel that you're neglecting me. That's how I feel. But then if you come to the table and you have that conversation with your partner and they begin to evolve out the reason why they're busy, the reason why they had to separate and spend time working on the business, working on the things that were going to help financially, then you have to go into a space of accepting, understanding, and then there may be things that you can do. On the Blue Therapy show, which we can show some of the clips in our live today, there was a couple and the man was in a restaurant, taking over the restaurant. It had been owned by his mom previously, and his partner felt as though he spent a lot of time in the restaurant. Well, there are some things that you can do actually to navigate that situation so it's not that much of a problem, right? So if you are in a space of entrepreneur and your partner is, then they can help you in the business. So if I feel like you're spending a lot of time in the business, then the option that I have as an individual is I can work in the business with you. So let's go back into this video.
Hard to deal with that person. I would say I don't want to talk to him outside of our children. If it has something to do with our children, if it's an emergency with our children, I'm all for it. I can have a conversation with you because that is necessary and we have to deal with each other because of the children. But it's like I lost a friend. It's like I lost my partner. I lost somebody who I was building a life with and we were supposed to grow old together. So that's another part that that bothers me. I lost somebody who I truly loved at one point. That's the grief of it. Long story short, these videos, like I'm putting them out there, but there's certain things that I will talk about. There's certain things that I'm not ready to talk about. I don't want to talk about, but I still want to put them out there because, like I said, there's other people that are going through something similar, and it's very therapeutic to talk about and to discuss and to be transparent, because I think that's one of the things that the world is missing today is transparency with people. A lot of things are just not organic anymore. But those are the three things that bother me the most right now. I don't know if it's going to be different. It may be different later on down the road. Maybe it won't faze me at all. Maybe there'll be something else that bothers me. For the most part, I'm good. Every day I wake up with positivity. I have accepted what is what it is. There are certain things that you cannot change. You cannot control another person's behavior. You cannot control another person's decisions. I'm just glad that I had my family. I am glad that this is not something that happened to me much later in life, in my 50s and 60s, because it's hard to start over. It really is. But it's not.
And that's what we were talking about earlier, right? Navigating through life. So she's in her 30s. She has been married for over 15 years. That is over a decade being with the same partner, building out your dreams, helping financially in the business, helping, bringing your intellect in order to build together. What I believe is important also in relationships, especially in that marriage, is checking in. So oftentimes you will see couples going through premarital counseling. That kind of helps you to learn how to navigate, to communicate. But if the communication breaks down, the relationship is over. So there are certain steps that you can take, right? And then in entrepreneurship, because she was navigating at home, staying at home with the kids, which is obviously a great deal, right? To be a stay-at-home mama is nothing short of amazing, because mothers carry a huge load from educating, taking care of, nurturing the children. That is not a small feat, right? When people try to downplay what single mothers do, I'm talking about good single mothers. You look and you oftentimes don't understand. Well, leave the man at home with the kids for 24 hours, and I guarantee you that they understand the benefits of a single mom, right? Because you're multitasking, you're wearing multiple hats, you're doing multiple things, which are pouring in and nurturing those children.
Not impossible. It's not impossible to start over. Anyone can rebuild. What I'm learning as I get older and I'm going on this journey, your peace is priceless. The cost of peace and your sanity, it's priceless. I will give up everything that I have to be able to wake up and just be okay, and to be there for my children. And of course, none of us are happy all the time. We're never going to be happy all the time. But to just be in a situation that is not healthy, it's not worth it. Life is too short. You tell the folks we got to go. Tell the folks we got to go. Say, my mommy got to go. She's been on here too.
Okay, we're going to pivot. Let's get the volume going here. Going over to our...
Having a good old time with myself. I'm sitting next to this lady and I glance over and she's like scrolling on a phone. And she's like, man, men are always so busy. Guys are so busy. Ha ha ha. Just kikiing it up with her friend or whatever. And I look and I'm like, that's my husband's phone. Like, how did she get his phone? And then I was like, oh, he must have left his phone down here by accident. So I'm like, hey, that's my husband's phone. And she's like, no, this is my friend's phone. So I grab the phone and I lock it. Obviously, see the picture that's on his background. I'm like, this is his phone. So I put it back up to her face to see if it would unlock. And it unlocks. And so immediately I'm putting two and two together. And I'm like, how in the world does this lady have a passcode and Face ID to my husband's phone? So I snatched the phone. I ran up to the room to wake him up. And I'm like, you have some explaining to do. Like, what's going on here? I know you haven't brought me to this resort. Got me out here looking like a fool. Like, what is going on? This stuff only happens in the movies. He snatches the phone, runs back down to the bar, starts to console the lady because she's crying. And I'm like, what is happening here? And then I woke up and I was mad at him for the rest of the day. I'm still mad, actually. So my husband and I are on vacation. We're at this resort. He's up in the room asleep. I'm down at the bar getting a bite to eat, having a good little time by myself. I'm sitting next to this lady and I glance over and she's like scrolling on a phone. And she's like, man, men are always so busy. Guys are so busy. Ha ha ha. Just kikiing it up with her friend or whatever. And I look and I'm like, that's my husband's phone. Like, how did she get his phone? And then I was like, oh, he must have left his phone down here by accident. So I'm like, hey, that's my husband's phone. And she's like, no, this is my friend's phone. So I grab the phone and I lock it. Obviously, see the picture that's on his background. I'm like, this is his phone. So I put it back up to her face to see if it would unlock. And it unlocks. And so immediately I'm putting two and two together. And I'm like, how in the world does this lady have a passcode and Face ID to my husband's phone? So I snatched the phone. I ran up to the room to wake him up. And I'm like, you have some explaining to do. Like, what's going on here? I know you haven't brought me to this resort. Got me out here looking like.
Caught my husband cheating on me by finding his Tinder account. So I created my own Tinder account and went under the alias of Stephanie, and I matched with him and talked to him for about 3 or 4 weeks straight. Again, he had no idea it was me, his wife, the entire time. I also stood him up on about 3 different dates, and I'm just thinking, wow, the desperosity of this man. Like, you literally are married and you got ditched 3 times and you're still trying to go out with Stephanie. God damn. I got bored with that though and playing around. So I was like, you know what? I gotta take this a step further.
Should I tell my husband that I know who his mistress is and I invited her to dinner tonight?
Hell yeah.
You think? Nah, surprising.
Your life. Do it. Why not?
No, sometimes you don't want to give the opportunity to lie. Sometimes you just got to spring it on him.
Nah. Get a videographer, had a videographer in the crib and make it like a reality show. Catch that from all angles. When he walk in the kitchen, he gonna be like, baby, what's the special occasion? He'll be like, nothing, this is for our anniversary. And then the cameras come out and start running around chasing him like cheaters. Man, that's gonna be so cinematic.
Question.
Let me match your image.
What the difference does it make if you're not going to leave anyway?
Who said I wasn't going to leave?
Because if you was willing to leave, then you wouldn't even be willing to go through the rigmarole that come with what you trying to plan.
No, she want to go out with a bang, bro. Let her go out with a bang.
I would accept it as
boom
is.
Moment.
Boom,
You
this
know,
man
Tasha
violating
Smith
me.
and
This
Why'd I
man
Get
don't.
Married?
Yeah, I would accept it. This man don't fit me. This man violated me, whatever. I'm going to get out the way. But you trying to plan revenge and all of these things. So what that tells me is that
I'm very spiteful. I will say it. I am very spiteful.
Great.
I'm a Scorpio.
Hey,
I get things done.
handle your business.
We got to pause right there. So we're going to stick on this tonight's conversation. So this video is saying she found out her husband been cheating and invited his mistress to dinner to confront him. Should she go through with it? Now think about it. Think about the layers and the elements that you can control, and then also now be reflective, take a new perspective, and think about the elements that are not controllable. So we're going to see obviously a lot of comments in the comment section. We have somebody here saying that, is this Miss Sherry Belafonte? Well, she do kind of favor Sherry. Now she says here in this conversation that she is very spiteful and she's a Scorpio. As much as we don't necessarily run down that rabbit hole of astrology, right? And astrological signs and those things that I just feel are obviously demonic, just not in the realms of even worth discussing. I will say that there is a element that is tied to, you know, when a person is born, just their temperament, sometimes their mindset. So I don't go all into the Scorpio Virgo thing, but she admits it here in this conversation and discussion that she's spiteful. But you have to take into consideration, okay, so this is your husband, you have made a vow, and you have discovered something, right? You've discovered him being unfaithful, you've discovered infidelity, but it matters what you do after the discovery process. So the panel is evolving out the idea, they're responding to her comment in the audience. And one thing that one of the panelists said that is very true, and you find that oftentimes with women, is what are you going to do with this newfound information from here that is going to be impactful or helpful to your life? Because if you found out the information and you just want to go through a confrontation, then you don't have to invite an additional party to the dinner table, right? So you found out the man was being unfaithful. Now you want to be spiteful. Now you want to get your lick back. Now you want to invite the mistress to the table. Now think about the ramifications of that. Think about what will happen at that table, right? Because there are things that you can control. You can control yourself. You can't control the mistress. You can't control your husband. You can't control that full dynamic. How do you know that once you present that as an option, that things don't take a terrible downfall, right? It could be catastrophic. We've seen it all the time when women find out about another woman. I've seen people go to the degree of unaliving that person. They had the viral story on Facebook where a wife went to her husband's mistress' house and she was unalived. So as much as this is, and I think oftentimes on the Tonight's Conversation podcast, I do believe now, and I heard someone saying it prior, that I think oftentimes that is scripted, right? Just like reality TV. When reality TV first came out, it was real uncut raw. They just were able to catch so many hours of footage that, they were able to clip together some really good elements in order to make it, just something that you didn't want to stop watching. Now it's more scripted, right? And I think with the Tonight's Conversation, that is definitely scripted, because oftentimes a lot of the individuals from the audience, when they come up and they talk about their situation, it just kind of has you side-eyeing. Like, are side chicks really that bold? You know what I'm saying? Are people really that bold in their messiness? Is it a matter of wanting to go viral so bad that you find yourself just airing out all your dirty laundry? Because the commenters will tell them some of this you could have really kept to yourself, right? Because by the time you evolve out the idea, now you are in this space of looking real raggedy and real dusty. And if you're not going to leave, now you have entered the group chat, and you can't be upset when people weigh in and give their idea of what they think is the good thing to do. So let's see here. Let's finish this out, and then we're going to go straight to the Tonight's Conversations and start reacting to some of those videos.
I was going to say, have you left yet?
No.
Then none of that matters.
Happened yet.
Then none of that shit matters.
Hold on. Hold on. Let me ask this fundamental question. Does the mistress know what's up?
Yes, she know. I went to her.
Oh, how was that conversation?
It was very shocking. And we're all grown.
Was she aware of you?
No.
She was not aware.
No.
How long has the affair been going on?
About 6 months.
Bro,
Child.
it don't matter what we say. Her mind is made up. She's gonna do this before this episode drops.
Are you cooking for dinner?
Yes, I'm cooking.
Make his favorite meal. Make his favorite meal.
Get the videographer and tag me. I need to see this.
Yeah, we need an update on this.
Update. All right, ladies. Should she go through with this? And guess what?
Y'all messy talking about, yeah, she should go through with this. Messy. Okay, let's go to Tonight's Conversations. They have some really viral topics, and I can understand why these topics go viral, because this is a situation where many people can relate. Every day someone is, experiencing some sort of issue within their marriage, their relationship. It could be betrayal. It could be something good. It could be around communication. So let's go through a few of these videos and we'll react to each. Let's go to the first one.
A friend of mine is pregnant at 45 with baby number 6. And the man she's pregnant by has a one.
Okay, hold on. So each of these clips, this is going to be good. Each of the clips runs about 2 minutes, And this is from the Tonight's Conversations podcast. This was uploaded about 19 hours ago. It says her friend is pregnant by a man who already has a woman, and the other woman has no idea. Should she speak up or stay out of it? Now, this is going to go back to the first video, right, that we just saw in regards to the wife finding out. So, should she speak up? That's a good question. Let's see what we think by the end of this clip. Someone says here, tell her and then leave the rest up to her. And then this is the difference between a friend and, let's see here.
Should I tell my husband that I know who his mistress is?
Hold on. We weren't trying to play that one back. We're trying to play the first one. Hold on.
A friend of mine is pregnant at 45 with baby number 6. And the man she's pregnant by has a woman that she doesn't know about. I actually just found out. So should I tell her or let her enjoy?
Wait. Let's first talk about the 6th kid, though. Because it's starting to feel like your friend got terrible vetting skills.
Yeah, I mean, just to answer the question, I think, hell yeah, you should tell her. Like, if that's your real friend, it ain't been nothing to talk about. But going back to what bro said, yeah, like, she has a history of being irresponsible, gang. It just is what it is.
Yeah, I'm going to say mind your business. Have you ever told a girl about her man and then she get mad at you and then stay with the man and now everybody mad at you and now they made up and you can't be invited anywhere because you was trying to be the good friend?
I got to disagree with you. I think if that's your friend, you got to let them know. You know what I'm saying? How they choose to deal with it is how they choose to deal with it. My partner knows some info that I'm not privy to. I expect my partner to tell me.
Here's my thing. Once you tell me something like this, I'm also accountable for it too. That's the way I look at it. That's how me and my friends are. It's certain things that they probably will never tell me because you are also making me accountable of it because you brought it to my awareness.
Right.
Me being a woman, I would hate to see that my irresponsible friend who 45 got 6 children already. You can't tell me you don't know that man got a woman. We FBI around here. We too good at this. You can't tell me that. I wouldn't even, I'd be like, girl, you lying. But this other woman don't know anything. And I would hate for this woman to be living a life and this man has a baby on her and then it hits her later on. And I've been knowing about it. I'm going to carry that guilt as well of knowing that it's a woman who is probably thinking she's living her greatest life.
Ooh.
Right. And this man has another family, basically, because not only am I a father to this baby, I have to make sure his mama good too. So I still have to do things behind my wife or girlfriend's back or whatever it is. So me as a woman, I'm gonna tell, I don't care if my homegirl get mad, be mad at me all you want to. You knew what you was doing in the first place. If you're gonna be mad, be mad. I promise you I'm gonna go to sleep with a cool pillow at nighttime and you're gonna be living with that guilt that you living with. Don't tell me if you don't want me to get involved with it.
Right. Deep, yeah.
Should I tell my husband that I know?
Me being a supportive wife, a threesome came up in this conversation. The only thing is, when he thought that it was just, oh, we're gonna play with a girl, he was for it. So when I told him that no, I get to spin the block also, the conversation changed. He was like, okay, if you get a man, I want to pick the man.
Wait, but he wanted to watch or he wanted to join?
I have to tell you who he picked first.
Who he picked?
He said his brother.
What?
Get out of here. Get the out of here.
Why his brother? Now, I've asked him this, and this is what he says. He says, because I wanted to be with someone that I trust. And I'm like, so you want to break your trust? Because you're not thinking, what if your brother's better than you?
Whoa, so we got a lot going on here. She said he wanted another woman involved, but couldn't handle her wanting another man. Is that fairness or hypocrisy? So we always love Kitty's responses, right? She gets straight to the nitty gritty. She doesn't play any games. She gives the raw, true, uncut opinion. Now, already, they have issues within the marriage, right? Marriage is holy, the bed is undefiled. You see people doing things within their marital bed that they later regret. I mean, case in point, you see the huge divorce scandal that is happening with Candy Burris and Todd Tucker, right? They said it was a scheme that Todd set up. They got married. Todd was lesser in the financial aspect than Candy. He made less money. She made more money. Now they're going through this divorce. But some of the things that they allowed to happen within the marital bed included bringing other parties, bringing other women, probably bringing other men, right? And it transpired for such a long time, and it was fun and it was fresh, and who would have even thought the marriage would have dissolved if you are allowing something like that to occur within that space? But yet and still, although they have not fully told the reason for the dissolution of the marriage, something transpired because you were allowing freely people to come in and out of the marital bed. And then now when a person gets so used to that, right, now they want it more and more and more. And so you've opened the door to Satan in your marriage. So here they are. That was a desire that he had. And now he is saying, if she is with another man, it has to be his brother. That's deep. So you're not even sure if they could have had this conversation prior. Somebody that you trust, and the wife brings up a good element. Now you're going to open this door to say, hey, my brother can come in. And then what happens after? So it's the fact of sexual immorality. So many people are dibbling and dabbling. Marriage is holy, right? You are making a covenant between the two. You could have been with anyone, but you saw fit to be with that particular person. Why are you opening the door to something that could be the destruction of your marriage?
But I feel like he losing the plot.
What's the plot?
I mean, he losing the plot. Like, the point of having a threesome, I feel like you should be having it with somebody that you don't know. Why would you want to have it with somebody that's close to you?
Because they done did that before.
Oh, you think that's what him and his brother be doing?
Hell yeah.
And then, listen, she said he's losing the plot. So again, I'm totally against the whole threesome conversation. It just happened to be on the Tonight conversation, so we're talking about it. But in this woman says he's losing the plot. Where's their rule book? Where's their rule book for it?
They done did that before. They're like,
Baby, I am on the total opposite side of the fence than you. I'm not sharing my man with a dog. So you're not going to get a threesome, a twosome, a onesome, unless that is me, and me.
Okay.
First of all. Second of all, the reason why this man has such a lustful mind to go as far as to say his brother is because you allowed the devil to come through a door you opened up from the beginning when you said you would allow another woman to come into your covenant of
Okay, so didn't I just say that now? Didn't I just say that? It's a covenant, it's a contract between you and your husband, you and your wife. Do not open doors that you will regret later, right? Do not open the door to Satan within your marriage. Do not open the door to Satan in your covenant, right? It's going to be something that you will regret. That moment of desire, that moment that you believe is a moment of passion can lead you down a road of destruction.
your marriage, first of all. So when you allow a breadcrumb and then you get the loaf, then we upset. But ladies, we got to be accountable, because supporting your man doesn't mean you allowing him to be intimate with another woman. That is not support.
Right.
Now, you could say that you wanted to satisfy him because you didn't want him to go out and cheat anyways. Because usually when women say yes to a threesome, it's because they're trying to keep that in the bedroom with her and that woman. But that doesn't keep him in the bedroom. What it does is say, baby, it's okay for you to cheat as long as I see it, and he ends up doing it anyways.
And that's what we were talking about, right? So we talked about how Kandi Burruss was a prime example, a relevant example, a right now example, opened that door in terms of her marital bed for other women to come in, right? So she was opening the door to say it is okay for Todd to be with other women, and oh, this is going to be fun and he's not going to leave. But what did it lead to? You know, rumor has it, right, that he was with other women outside of that space. And so you open the door, and that person gave themselves over to more and more lust until the marriage was destroyed.
Man who wants you and another woman wants another woman outside of you too, baby.
I'm asking for a friend. Should you feel guilty for having a poly relationship when you're married and you was allowed to do it, but then now that it's over, every time you get into an argument, they throw it up in your face. But if you would have told me, if you would have...
Got him. God damn.
If you would have told her to sit her tail down, she wouldn't have did it, because she values your marriage. I value my damn marriage.
You had 2 husbands?
No, a husband and a girlfriend. Kitty, help. I came to talk to you. Hi.
Kitty ain't got you on this one, baby. Hold on.
I follow you.
See, they always go straight to Kitty because they know Kitty is going to give the raw, unedited, uncut version of what she believes and what she thinks. So Kitty embodies marriage, right? So she talks about on the podcast about being a wife, about those skills, about being submissive, about things that are for the nurturing and the betterment of the marriage. So remember, she called on Kitty for an answer. We haven't heard as of yet, but when you call for an opinion and people give the opinion, you have to take that as medicine, right? Don't be upset. Don't be angry when you get the truth.
And I appreciate that, baby.
Every day.
Let me tell you something. If you really truly follow me, that means
I already know.
You know I honor marriage.
I know.
Okay.
And you know I honor God. I don't even counsel poly couples for a reason, because it gets nasty like this. Because regardless of what you all agreed upon, there is still a level of offense that he's expressing to you.
Yes.
So he is seeing that offense. Okay, so if you heard him, you wouldn't be asking this question. And a lot of times people love you so much and they don't want to lose you that they allow you to do the things that you want to do so they don't lose you.
Right.
It does not mean that he was necessarily in agreement with it.
Right. Yeah.
Because if he was, this would not be a topic of discussion.
Right.
Did he say from the beginning when you all exchanged vows that he was cool with y'all going into a poly relationship?
Absolutely not. The exact opposite.
So then why did you do it, baby?
But before it even happened, I told him.
I feel like you trapped the man in the marriage and then sprung that on him, right? And the thing about marriage when it comes to men, let me explain. Wait. Stop. Because if you would have led with this wasn't no spur of the moment urge that you done had. You've been liking women. Like you've been valuing women. You've been wanting to be in a relationship with a...
See, and here we have, so I like the way that Kitty responded, right? She responded with truth. We expected that from her. Kitty honors her marriage. And then now this man is also explaining, look, if you allow or you wanted to have polygamy in your relationship, in your marriage, that should have been something that you spoke about with your partner. But marriage is holy. God didn't design for us to be in a polygamous marriage, polygamous relationship, right? But this woman still desired other women, right? She has that lesbian, that bisexual nature, and that is what led to the desire to have another woman in the relationship. And she's thinking it's fun, and she's thinking this is great, and she's thinking this is going to be able to help my marriage work. But in all actuality, it wasn't, right? Your desire is ungodly. You're unequally yoked with your partner.
Woman. So wait a minute, she's a woman. He's a trans man. So he was
okay. All right.
Okay, I don't do no trapping.
Okay.
I don't do no trapping.
Okay, now
I'm not trapping nothing.
All right. Now
I'm
listen.
not trapping nothing.
Do you believe once a cheater is always a cheater?
Absolutely not. Full transparency. I grew up around straight hustlers who taught you got to have a woman for this, a woman for that. And I'll be honest with you, cheating wasn't even something that you looked at as a bad thing. It was just like, hey, you got a woman for every need. But it wasn't until I got the revelation of who I was, who God made me, what he put on the inside of me, that I was fearfully and wonderfully made, that I was the head and not the tail, the lender and not the borrower, above and not beneath. When I began to know who I was, I realized that, and it's no disrespect to women, but I care so much about myself that I think the integrity of who I am could not be compromised because I got people watching. I got boys. I got little boys who I'm raising to be kings. And if they see an example of a man who running women in and out, that's the same example that they're going to take into the world. But listen, I'm not going to live forever. But they're going to get an opportunity to take whatever I give them, and they're going to get an opportunity to stand on my shoulders. I tell them that you stand on the shoulders of a giant. But how can a giant have 4 or 5 different women running in and out of the house setting the wrong example? So I was a cheater. I cheated, but I realized that wasn't my identity. So can a person change? I am the poster child of change.
Amen.
All right. So I just believe you can.
Okay.
I have the same stance. A cheater can change.
Yes, a cheater can change if they want to change. And I like his response. He said, once he found out who he was, right? Sometimes people evolve, we change, we're ever changing. We're supposed to be changing Christians from glory to glory, right? So with that change comes new ideas, new perspective, new life. And with the change, you can start off believing that something is okay, believing that cheating was all right. And over time, as you apply, obviously, the principles, the teachings of Christ, right, we will not and should not be conforming to the world. So although some people are doing that and they think it is okay, it is not. And in a marriage, you want to honor your partner, to love your partner. So let's listen to what Kitty has to say.
Just like that's your thoughts, baby.
They definitely can.
You know, this the crazy thing about it. So a thief can't change neither? Wow.
A cheater can.
God, I'm in the wrong room. Okay. It's unfortunate that y'all believe people can't change their ways. There's a such thing that we go through that are called stages of change. We identify problematic behavior. We identify a pattern. We maintain it. If we fall short, we go back until we correct the problem. Why is it that y'all feel like people can't change? People can see the pattern that they have. This is my thing. I keep forgetting the culture and the climate that we in, my Lord. There are certain spirits that people operate in. If you believe God, then you know that God can deliver you from that. Y'all believe in every other spirit, but you don't believe in the spirit that can heal you and deliver you? Are you kidding me? Ain't none of y'all in this room, including myself, we ain't perfect. If I conform to who I used to be, I would never be on this stage right now. Kitty ain't perfect. Kitty cheated in the past too. I would never cheat on my husband. You know why? Because God delivered me from it. I recognize the trauma that I was operating in. Y'all really believe that people can't change? I bet you'll be the same person telling people right now, well, I changed.
Right.
I'm not the same person I used to be back then, 5-10 years ago. Y'all are so biased, it's sad.
Do you believe once a cheater?
We're going to go into some longer story time. So these clips have been good. Definitely an eye opener, but let's want to get more into some more into the story times here.
I helped you to get all documents for you to stay in this country. Remember, you were just a hopeless migrant that year. I helped you, yet you cheated on me with another woman. After I gave you everything, I gave you life and hope. You leave in my house.
It's like AI.
Something about today kind of felt off. Normally, when I wake up, my husband will still be in the bed, or if he wasn't in the bed, his side of the bed wouldn't even be made up. But today, his side of the bed was made up. Breakfast was made. He was in the shower, and everything was too quiet. My house is never peaceful. My husband always nagging about something, or the kids always hollering. So after about 5 minutes, I decided to get up out of the bed to kind of figure out what was wrong about today. But before I could even step up out of the bed, my husband was walking out of the restroom with a towel wrapped around him. He clutched the towel, and he slowly came up to me and gave me a warm kiss. And I was just like, okay, well, you know, it kind of does feel normal. Before I could begin to even kiss him back and start to feel the moment, his phone began to ring. Now, this wasn't abnormal because it rings a lot. He's a busy man. But something about today, again, just felt off. So it stopped ringing and it rang again. And I was just like, what the fuck? And it stopped ringing and it rang again. So at this point, I'm a little irritated. He snatched his phone off his bed and he instantly went into the restroom. And me? Oh, I don't play like that. So I got up and went behind him. When he made it to the restroom, he instantly slammed the door. So you know me, I put my ear to the door because now I want to know what's going on. Why are we rushing? Why are we slamming doors? And why are we snatching things? As I glued my ear to the door a little bit more, I could hear him saying or whispering, Amy, not right now. I'm like, what? And then he said it again, Amy, not right now. And I could have sworn I heard another person on the other end of the phone saying, no, you're going to take time to talk to me today. So I'm instantly pissed because who are you talking to and what do you mean you're going to make time to talk to me today? So I bust the restroom door open because what are you doing? He instantly got defensive and said, I don't give him enough space and he's sick of being here. So only one thing came to my mind. He's cheating. By this time he was dressed, so he grabbed his stuff and rushed out the door. But when he opened the door, you won't believe who was standing on the other side of the fucking door. Something about today kind of felt off. Normally when I wake up, my husband will still be in the bed, or if he wasn't in the bed, his side of the bed.
Okay, I thought that would have a part 2. It doesn't. Let's see.
Something about today kind of felt off. Normally when I wake up, my husband will still be in the bed, or if he wasn't in the bed.
Oh, they tried to jump me in here. Look what happened to both of them. You a bully.
Show them your lip.
Oh, yeah.
Show them your lip. No, don't drink the blood. Don't drink the blood. His shit popped open. All that blood.
Back up. Oh, they tried to jump me in here. Look what happened to both of them. You a bully.
Show them your lip.
Oh, yeah.
Show them your lip. No, don't drink the blood. Don't drink the blood. His shit popped.
They flares out of Emily, boy. He right in front this bitch, man. They flares. They flares out of Emily, boy. He right in front this bitch, man. They flares.
She's back. Yeah. I don't give a
Let me go. Stop.
My brother gone, but I'm still on strong.
No, you are not. No, you are not. No, you are not. No, you are not. No, you are not.
So I'm gonna let y'all in on a secret.
because people are finding me again and they're like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in forever. Okay, so I had a dream where I met a girl in the dream and she asked me what the date was or what the time was. And I got annoyed because my very first video on this app was me telling people, hey, stop asking your dream characters what time it is because you're going to give yourself sleep paralysis and that is not fun. That was in 2021 when I made the first video, right? So I made the video and the girl was like, what time is it? And I was like, oh, you must be on TikTok. And she's like, yeah, I'm on TikTok. Like, what the fuck? Like, are you real? And I'm like, yeah, I'm a real person. And I'm having a dream right now. And she's like, I'm dreaming. I'm like, awesome, cool. And then she asked like what the date was. And the date that she was having the dream was like a month or so ahead of me. Right. So I was like, okay, well, I can find you on TikTok because I'm on there and I post. I used to post a lot. Right. And I was like, I'm on there and I'll post something, but it'll have to be after, you have your dream. So I'll wait. And then I got scared. So I waited like 2 months after that. And then I made the video and I was like, okay, this is what happened. The video went viral, found the girl. Right. We also agreed to speak about something in the dream that I wasn't going to mention in the video. And I did not mention in the video, but she mentioned it to me. So this solidified like, oh yeah, this was the girl from the dream. Right. Then I started having dreams of motherfuckers being in my house with headsets on, like podcast set up type shit with headsets on and telling me that I needed to be careful because what I was doing was not going to be safe for me. Basically. So I'm asking this guy who the fuck he is. He's saying that he is a psychic employed by the government. And he's talking to me in my dream and he's like, hey, I know you're just doing this for like TikTok and stuff and like you're nothing to worry about, but you could be seen as a threat. So I was like, okay, awesome. Not going to talk about this shit anymore. So it freaked me out. People wanted to talk to me about the dreams and shit. I was clearly fucking scared. So I was just like, don't really want to talk about it. So I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to stick to something that could be so fucking absurd. Let me tell you about the myths of vampires in this country. Let me talk about something else that's fucking absurd. Let's talk about these things that are just completely off the fucking wall. Fast forward to now. They're like, oh yeah, all that shit, all the weird shit that you said couldn't possibly be real, that you really didn't have to worry about. All that shit's real too. And I have to keep checking. I have to keep checking with people like, hey.
Yes, I do. Whoa. Oh, what? You heard that? You heard that? Babe. Fuck you. I'ma pray for 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 you.
See, this is what we
That's not gonna be a wise.
Didn't I tell you?
Yes, you fucking did. Bitch, get in the driver's seat. If these niggas don't.
That's very dangerous. They're saying at the end of the day, you didn't hop out the car. Why would you hop out the car?
$16.02, go ahead.
Please show me the services for final time. And then I'll show everything else. Thank you.
After proudly serving in the United States Air Force, Officer Douglas continued his commitment to service in 2005 when he began his law enforcement career in the Bexar County Sheriff's Office as a detention officer. In 2006, he was hired as an officer with the DeSoto Police Department, where he served until he was hired by the Midlothian Police Department in November of 2018. Throughout his time in Midlothian, Officer Douglas built strong relationships throughout the community, laying the foundation for his transition into the MPD Community Outreach Team, the CAT unit. Many also knew him as Captain America, humbly volunteering his time with Special Olympics, Make-A-Wish, and countless other opportunities, always stepping up to bring encouragement, hope, and joy to those who needed it most. After years of faithful service, sacrifice, and compassion, you leave behind a legacy that will continue to inspire. Thank you for your service, your heart for others, and your dedication to this profession. A lot of people know you as Officer Douglas, but I know you as my dad.
All of those people you see behind me are trying to get through the TSA security line here at George Bush Intercontinental Airport, and they are hours away from making it to the front of the line. And this isn't even all of it. This is a line that usually starts 2 floors below ground here. They have to go up several escalators to make it out to this part of the line, which snakes its way through what is normally a passenger drop-off area for vehicles outside of the terminal, and then it goes back inside before you can make it to the security checkpoint. So a long journey ahead for those passengers. And this is an airport that has been afflicted with close to 40% call out rate from TSA employees over the last few days. And that is making it very difficult for passengers to get through. This is an airport that usually has 9 TSA security checkpoints. There are only 2 terminals taking passengers right now. So that is why this nightmare continues to unfold here at George Bush Intercontinental Airport.
Wow. Come in.
This is the TSA pre-check line. We've dealt with this before. This line stretches all the way down here, but here's the new wrinkle. Step outside with me real quick. You kind of have to see this one to believe it. This is actually still the TSA pre-check line. This line now wraps outside. So if you think about it, it wraps around the inside 4 different times, then comes outside and wraps around 2 other times to get all these passengers through. No one has an expectation for how long they're going to be standing in the line. And I want to stress, this is the pre-check line. On the other side, on the north side, that line's
These lines are
This is history for sure. I've never experienced anything like this.
You're literally standing in a subway, shoulder to shoulder. Access to restrooms is limited due to the sheer amount of people that are down there.
So we're in the basement right now, the subway corridor of Terminal A of Houston Intercontinental. You can hear people saying, this is terrible. Folks right about here have already been waiting 2 hours, they say, without adequate AC, water, food, a lot of frustration, no bathrooms, this gentleman just said. Concern, of course, around the DHS government shutdown. It's in its 6th week, and here in Houston, the sick call-out rate among TSA officers is 40%. That's part of the reason why you're seeing all this buildup here. We have been seeing some ICE officers around trying to help airport personnel handing out water, but clearly not sufficient for travelers who say they've arrived 5 or 6 hours early to their flight and are still concerned that they're not going to make it. You can see just how long this line goes down here and then snakes back around.
No air conditioning, no service. It was horrible.
No bathroom.
There's no bathroom down there, no food. I think that kids and dogs for sure down there, they're struggling. Like, it's so hot and they're having to go through multiple terminals, both lines for both security checkpoints are meeting downstairs. So it's just mass chaos. I definitely think that they need to vote the Save America Act through, because that's what's paying our DHS agents, paying our TSA. I think that Also, I don't think that TSA should be funded by the government. I'm like that kind of person. I think it should be like private.
So you know, you guys know, we got to the airport at, what time did we get in line? At 5 o'clock. We got to the airport at like 4:45, got in line finally, TSA at 5 a.m. Just made it through TSA, scan. Now we're going to security area, and it is now 7:20. We have a 10 a.m. flight, 10 a.m. flight, parked at the parking place, got the shuttle. Got dropped off at Terminal E for United, and we made it through. So it's best to just come early. It seems like right around like 6 or 7 is when like the lines start getting like insane. So you know, you guys know, we got to the airport at, what time did we get in line? At 5 o'clock. We got to
It is 4:50 a.m. Let's go see how bad these TSA lines actually are. Going to JFK? I'm just getting to JFK now. It's a little after 5:30 a.m. and I can already see the line from the entrance. I'm just getting in line now, so I'm going to start a timer. Let's see how this goes. You have to wait in a line that goes all through the general check-in area. General check-in.
Wow.
How long do you think the line's going to be today?
I think like 2.5, 3 hours. I don't think it's bad. I think there's a lot of fear mongering going on. Like, it's terrible, but it's not like.
It's terrible, but it's not bad.
It's been 3 hours, and we're still on this line. So the rumors are true. You gotta come at least 4 or 5 hours before. It's been 3 hours, and we're still on this line. So the rumors are true. You gotta come at least 4 or 5 hours before. It's been 3 hours.
I'm here at Atlanta Airport, one of 14 different airports where they've deployed ICE agents. If you take a look to the right over there, there's a group of them standing around. We've seen them walk around the airport, go in and out of security, but there's still a question as to what they're supposed to be doing here. I asked them off camera, okay, what's your mission? They said it's to quote unquote support TSA officers. I asked them what that meant. They didn't clarify. And that's the question that many passengers.
Wow.
We have already lost over 480 TSOs this shutdown, and our call-out rates have accelerated as our workforce was still reeling from the last shutdown. Prior to this shutdown, our TSO call-out rate was 4%. Now, multiple major airports are experiencing days where 40 to 50% of their staff are calling out because they simply cannot afford to report to work. This has led to the highest wait times in TSA history, with some wait times greater than 4.5 hours. We are being forced to consolidate lanes and may have to close smaller airports if we do not have enough officers. It is a fluid, challenging, and unpredictable situation. We understand this is frustrating and disruptive. Unfortunately, we have seen an over 500% increase in the frequency of assaults on our officers since this shutdown began. This is unacceptable, and we will not be tolerated.
Wow, they are experiencing the shutdown. Don't underestimate how much power the workers actually have, right? Underpaid. Some reports have said they haven't been paid since January. It's just like, it's ridiculous. People have to be able to support themselves, to support their families. And let's see here. I know I saw this video. Do I have the right name? Miss Amber 77. I saw a video the other day. Okay, so this is it.
She flew. I posted it. I paid for her trip to come out to where are we at? Denver, Colorado, so she could her side piece or whatever. She has a whole married husband. Reggie is her name.
You want your phone?
Yeah, I wish you would touch me.
Yeah,
That's fine. So she could fuck side piece. Mind you, I paid for the rental.
So this woman is exposing, I want to say maybe an associate. I don't think that they had made it to the level of a real friendship, but it says Miss Amber flies a woman out to cheat on her husband. So Amber says that this woman is a preacher's daughter and she's having problems in her marital relationship. And during that time, she asked Amber to go on a girls' trip. They go on this girls' trip together, and she exposes that she has been cheating on her husband, and she used the girls' trip as a way to go out and see the man that she's been cheating with. Now, it's a very short clip. I want to say it's about 4 minutes in length. I was looking for the original poster, which is at Miss Amber. Let me see if I can go to that page, but it can't be found. So I'm not sure why she deleted it. But the video in total, if you look at all the clips that Amber shared, it is about 10 minutes in length. So that's a little bit weird that that video was deleted. Because she's exposing this woman. And one thing I recognized when I saw the video at first, you're in a very dangerous situation, right? You guys are sharing a hotel room and you are exposing this woman. And sometimes people do things for virality in order to go viral because that brings about a different level of income. So if you go viral on TikTok, as you know, you need a certain level of followers, a certain level of people to watch in order for you to gain income. Now, TikTok, if you've noticed and you've seen the figures, you have to be bringing in millions of views in order to really start to see an impact when it comes to monetization and finances. But people will go to great lengths in order to gain virality. But I just think it's so weird that her page is not available any longer. So I'm wondering what made her delete it. I took a screenshot and that was one of the videos that I was going to be posting today. And so let's take a look at this clip. Now, what do you think? I thought to myself when I saw the clip, this is a very dangerous thing to do in terms of confronting someone, especially when it comes to a man. This woman is in a marriage, you're exposing her, but the way that you are doing it can result in some negative consequences, right? So being there in the room with them physically, they could have gotten into an altercation. That man could have, maybe he went the other way because he noticed that she was recording and she had the camera, but it's very dangerous to confront people in that aspect. And you have to understand and realize the consequences of what you're doing. Some people will say, hey, mind your business. Some people will say, hey, expose them. So one thing in this exposure video that Miss Amber does is she's exposing herself as well. So on this trip, she did get drunk. She did admit to getting drunk. And with that, now your friend that was meant to take a girls' trip with you is now stuck babysitting or trying to nurse you throughout your drunkenness, right? So you have to take a level of accountability for that. But let's listen to this clip.
I posted it. I paid for her trip to come out to where are we at? Denver, Colorado, so she could her side piece or whatever. She has a whole married husband. Reggie is her name.
You want your phone?
Yeah, I wish you would touch me. That's fine. So she could fuck side piece. Mind you, I paid for the rental. I paid for her to get to this trip. I did not know that she was here. I did not know she was here. Came to a man. I did not know. This was supposed to be a girls' trip to.
So the woman you see in the video, her name is Cherie. Cherie is 53 years old. She lives in Topeka, Kansas. I'm 38. I'm in Minnesota. Cherie and I met through work. We became very, very close. Just the similarities that we have with our lives, having children and things like that. She's married, I'm not married. But anyways, so became very fast friends. She suggested a girls trip. I've never been on a girls trip. I'm a single mom, as I said. I do not really do anything for myself. So I was so excited to go on this girls trip with her. I was like, yes, I'm down. She's originally from Denver, Colorado. So she suggested the Royal Gorge train ride, horseback riding, the Salt Caves of the Mountains. Super excited. When we land, we're on our way to pick up the vehicle from Enterprise, and that's where she says, I have something to tell you. I've been cheating on my husband with the man in the video. His name is Tyrone, his TLC initials for short, and that her son that is in his mid-late 20s is not in fact her husband Reggie's, but it is Tyrone's. Okay, so part 3. So obviously that was a lot of information. Okay, so part 3. So obviously that was a lot of information for me to take in. That's a lot of information to be given. And so I obviously have follow-up questions like, why don't you get a divorce? And if you're unhappy in your marriage, she told me previously during phone conversations that, she's unhappy with her marriage. And then I was just like, well, girl, start the divorce process. And I especially said it now since, you divulged to me that you've been cheating on him since June of 2025. Like, anyways, get a divorce. Okay, so she was like, okay, well, this is why I don't tell people stuff I don't want to talk about anymore. We did the conversation. Then we head to the hotel. We now have a rental. Head to the hotel, drop off our stuff. Some important information is when we check in, the hotel is in her father's name, which she told me. Her father's a well-known pastor in Denver, and a Baptist pastor in Denver, and he has some type of connect with the DoubleTree. And so it would basically be cheaper for him to get the hotel. So he got the hotel. He then called the hotel to speak with somebody at the front desk to add Cherie's name to the hotel room. So anyways, we then go out, head to get something to eat. Of course, who do we pick up? We pick up Tyrone. Tyrone has to come out and get something to eat with us. Okay, whatever. We eat. She goes over to visit her niece. Then after visiting her niece, drops Tyrone off, and we get back to the hotel. And she showers, whatever. And then she's like, okay, well, I'm headed out. I'm going to Tyrone's house to spend the night. Fine by me. She leaves around 10ish, comes back at 9 the next morning. Okay, so we go to we do our drive to the Royal Gorge train ride. It's like a 2.5 hour drive. I'm falling in and out of sleep, which is fine because she was on the phone with Tyrone the whole time talking to him. Okay, whatever. We do the train ride, come back to the hotel. Wait a little bit, go out to the Ultra Lounge, which I will say, the Ultra Lounge was that was the one part of the trip I had a good time because I saw black people. Other than that, I had not seen no black people at all. Where are y'all at in Denver? Anyways, and so have fun at the Ultra Lounge. I ended up having 3 drinks. I get very intoxicated. Like I had never felt like that ever in my life. I was intoxicated off the 3 drinks that I had from the Ultra Lounge. We had planned on going to a Waffle House because we don't have a Waffle House in Minnesota. I was super excited about that. We had planned on that before we left the club. So get in the car, we leave the club, get in the car. I wake up at Tyrone's house. I immediately open the door, have to throw up, throwing up. Cherie gets upset, cussing at me, yelling at me, why are you throwing up in my man's garage, whatever. And she's like, get it together so we can go to Waffle House. I said, no, I can't go to Waffle House. I feel so sick. I feel horrible. I feel so sick. And so then they drop me off at the hotel and they proceed to go to
Marriage is such a emptying of yourself. And a lot of people are waiting for this moment to happen in their life. Marriage being one of those moments where they feel like all the dots are going to connect. And I promise you, the dots are going to connect when you surrender to Christ. The dots for me connected in such a way. So this is the creator replying to someone by the name of Brittany Simone. Trust in the Lord. She says, what I wish I knew before I got married in 6 months. This needs a part 2. Love this. So we're going into a marriage series. So we're going to be talking about and going through some TikToks and listening to what some of the spouses say, what some of the husbands say, what some of the wives say, things that they wish they knew before they got married. So oftentimes in marriage, that is the covenant that you make with your partner and your spouse, and you're going into that covenant and becoming one, right? But there's a difference between the fantasy of marriage and then that is the idea, the dream, the hope, right, of coming together. And then there's a difference that happens with the reality of marriage, right? Because you go from that fantasy phase of imagination of how you assume it will be to actually getting into that relationship, getting into the routine of living together, of merging finances, of becoming one, of becoming yoked together, right? And so this series is going to be interesting because we're going to be able to hear from people that are actually there, and it should be able to help you as well in terms of even in your relationship, right? Relationships are supposed to be gathered and entered into with a purpose. If you are dating just to date frivolously and just have fun, that may be the phase that you're in. But if you're dating with purpose, or if you're even already married, some of the signs, some of the things that can help in the community with other people going through the same phases. So let's get into it.
When I did one of the hardest things that God was asking me to do, and that was to surrender my dating life to Him. I remember so clearly I had stopped watching porn. I had stopped masturbating. I had stopped cursing. I had stopped listening to secular music. I had stopped drinking. And my fists were closed because I said, well, baby, I done gave you everything. I'm not giving you my dating life. I'm in control of that. I'm going to meet a man while I travel, and it's going to be a love story. That's what I told the Lord. I already got it figured out. I don't need your help in that area. And the last thing He asked me before I met my husband, not even met my husband, I already knew my husband. I reconnected with my husband and got married in 6 months. But the last thing He asked me before all of that happened was to surrender my dating life. And it was the hardest thing I ever had to do.
Because we want control.
And 6 months later, He brought me to my husband. And
Wow.
This is not a video about, oh, if you do this, you're going to get married. No, this is about you have to be willing to lay aside every weight, every sin that so easily is preventing you from where you need to be with God.
Amen.
And that is different for each person. I'm just sharing with you what it was for me. It was all those things. It was sin. It was the sin Olympics. Okay?
The sin
And
Olympics.
even with the Sin Olympics, I was still not trying to give up how I wanted to date. I wanted to date how I wanted to date. I wanted to have a fantasy. I wanted to travel and meet my husband. Travel foolishness. The whole time I had already met my husband 5 years ago. Okay. And the Lord was so merciful to ask me, hey, whenever you're ready, if you trust me, I'm going to give you more than you could ever ask or think. If you trust me,
right,
I can lead you and guide you into
Amen.
perfect peace if you trust me. And I don't know who this is for, but the Lord is asking you to trust Him. Not when He does it. Trust Him now.
Right.
Not when He proves it to you. Trust Him now.
Amen.
That's it.
Trust.
I've been married for 10 years, and if I could do it all over again, here are two things that I would do. Number one, I would not focus that much attention on the ceremony, the dress, the wedding, just that whole thing. Because you mess around and spend 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand
Not even
on
worth
people that you no longer talk to, don't really care or support your marriage, and on a day that can typically end in a headache. I would make the ceremony as beautiful and as simple as possible. I'm
Right.
talking backyard, you, your mama, your daddy, his mama, his daddy,
Your
and that's
loved
about
ones, right.
and then maybe some years down the line, do another ceremony and invite those people that stayed around. And number two, which might be common sense for a lot of you, but it wasn't for me, which was to become hyper aware of any emotional baggage, my blind spots, my inferior traits, just becoming extremely aware of myself so I don't get in the marriage and point my finger at my man.
Wow.
Here are 3 things I would have done differently when I got married if I had known what I know now. The first thing I would have done differently is to have a lot of things in writing, a lot of promises, a lot of things that we've said between ourselves, have it in writing. If it means you putting down your assets that you came in with together and write them down and then basically specify what you plan to do with them at the end if the marriage doesn't work, I would advise that you do that and make sure you get a lawyer to make it a legally binding document, get it signed and stuff. I would advise that because it just makes things easier if you do plan on getting a divorce later on. Second thing I would decide or I would have done with myself is
But you never plan on getting a divorce. I love this phase, this segment, how the women are sharing some things that they would have done differently. And she's given great advice, but she said in this video, if you plan on getting divorced, understand, right? When you are going into a marriage, you're not going into a fairy tale, although no man or woman ever stands up there and thinks about divorce. Now, that is the reason why premarital agreements are essential. It's unfortunate that you have to think that way, but that premarital agreement is that agreement that says, hey, if this happens, then this. If the marriage doesn't work out, then these are the guidelines, the principles, the rules, the boundaries that you have to stay within in order to dissolve everything.
To prep my mind if, for the worst to come. I know it sounds very bad, but the truth is I would have sat down and really considered where I was, who I was with, and the outcome of how our negative moments go. Because a lot of us get married on the whim of the happy moments, but we don't consider the bad moments. And unfortunately, the way life works is sometimes you can have a bad moment for a long period of time. So I would ask myself, can I cope with this bad period that if it was prolonged, maybe life was doing life and we couldn't necessarily be the most happiest version of ourselves? Could I cope with the not so happy version? Could I cope with the version of them that maybe might not necessarily be the most romantic or sweetest or lovely or whatever? I would have asked myself those questions because that would then determine my ability to do forever with someone. Obviously, no one's ever in a happy moment 24/7, but life does do life, and there are some times where you will find yourself unhappy, maybe
Life
going through
happens.
mild depression or just not generally understanding where you are in life. And having someone to support you through that experience is so key. But then being with someone who doesn't understand support, or being with someone who seems to think that you have to do things on your own and they do on their own, and figuring it out can determine the outcome of how you feel, how the situation goes, and a whole lot of things. And then the third thing I would have done differently until tomorrow is not have a big wedding. Okay. Now, this isn't to say don't have big weddings, celebrate everything. If you are someone who wants a big wedding, please celebrate and have fun. I'm just saying from my point of view, I probably wouldn't have had a big wedding because I genuinely don't think that it was something that I should have done. I think and truly believe that I should have kept it low key because of one, spiritual ailments. We know how the spirit world works, but also I would have kept it low key because I was already in a space where I wasn't too sure, especially the day.
Okay, so now I have a better perspective of this because the keywords that I typed in was what I wish I knew before marriage and getting that advice from women. But one thing I realized with this particular video, this is coming from the viewpoint of a divorcee. So she's already entered into the marriage and now she's in a space where they're divorcing. So these are some words what she would consider obviously words of wisdom that she's given to women to say, hey, think about these things before you enter into the marriage. And this is resounding advice, right? We've heard it in the prior video, and that is oftentimes people spend so much on the marital ceremony. You're spending $10,000, $20,000 and up, right? At minimum, to have a bunch of strangers, maybe even people that you think are happy for you, come and eat and join into the ceremony. But that's wasted money. We saw one of the viral videos was of a couple that spent over $10,000 on their baby shower. And you look at the shower and there were just balloons, regular tablecloths, nothing extravagant. And oftentimes in society, cultural wise, we do things more for a show, right? Because you could have saved that money. That $10,000 could have been in a account for your child. That could have been an account for yourselves in order to build on the relationship. How many times are we wasting finances because we don't have a financial management system to be able to help us, to guide us to make better decisions? So it didn't make sense. And what have they said? What has been said time and time again is that those individuals that spend so much on the marital ceremony, bingo, we are seeing an actual example of that now, end up divorced. You spent $10,000, $100,000, $80,000, $50,000, whatever the amount is on the wedding, only to end up divorced. It's not worth it.
Before, when like things weren't great and stuff. So I was already like, I don't know if this is something I really should do. I don't know if this is going to be long term. I don't know how it's going to work. So already I was very iffy on it. The worst thing I could have done was then go ahead and have a really massive wedding, because like it just opened up a whole magnifying glass to my situation and kind of made me feel like I didn't really know. I mean, I knew what I was getting into. I mean, we all know what we're getting into, but the truth is I just always had this delusional mindset that when I get married, things will get better. That is a lie. Don't lie to yourself. When you get married, everything else will be pronounced. Whatever was once there will begin to be magnified and highlighted. And from there, you can then decide to make your move on how you want to move. But pretty much whatever was there just becomes amplified.
Highlighted and
but yeah, those are the 3 things I would have done if I knew what I know now.
Wow.
Love you guys.
Thanks for sharing.
6 things I wish I knew before getting married. This video isn't to be negative at all. Marriage can be such a beautiful thing, but I do think there's certain things that especially women need to be aware of. Number 1, make sure that you're financially literate and that you can manage your finances by yourself if it so happened that you had to be self-reliant at any point. I've also heard so many stories about women who get stuck in certain situations because they are so financially tied to that person. Can turn into financial abuse as well. Number 2, I've said this before in a recent video, but it's not always necessary. For me anyway, I definitely felt like it was just like that natural progression. It was that point in my life where I felt like we sort of should get married. I just had a child as well, so I felt like that's what you should do. Don't feel pressurized, especially if you're young and if you're in your 20s. Number 3, looking back at the amount of money that went on the wedding that I had, that money would have been so much better invested into a house. What all of these companies charge as well, as soon as they hear the word wedding, is just extortionate. Because I was quite young, I was just like, woo, you know. It's also just really easy to get wrapped up in all of the extra bits and bobs for the wedding as well, like that you don't necessarily need, people aren't even going to notice, and that you'll spend extra money on. Number 4, if you have a little gut feeling that is a no, please listen. In the society that we live in, I think we're so taught to just ignore our gut feeling, or that we're like overthinking as women, or being too emotional, or we sort of try to rationalize it. But looking back, I did have that. Listen to your intuition. Number 5, this is a bit more like wedding focused, but when I look back, I wish I had spent so much more time with the guests at the wedding. The day goes so quickly, like it feels like such a blur anyway. So it's always hard to use that time exactly how you thought you were going to use it. But I wish I had like sat with people more, chatted with them more, danced more, did do some of that. But I think it's nice as well to plan some time in the day where it's just you and your partner together, just one-on-one time. But take more pictures, ask other people there just to take loads of random pictures, put Instax on the tables maybe. And lastly, but maybe the most important, love isn't enough for marriage. Like you have to have so much more there. You're marrying someone's character, their values, their debts, how much patience they have, how much tolerance someone has. You're marrying their effort that they put into you, into your children, into life. You're marrying their family as well. So these are things that I will be passing down as well. Also, bonus, random, but you don't need a whole flashy wedding to prove your love for each other. It's like usually is the opposite. Anyway, thank you for watching. I gotta go because I'm running out of time. If you have any others as well, please add them.
We're hearing this advice
6 things I
over
wish
and
I knew.
over again. You don't need a flashy wedding. Somebody said marriage is spooky.
Going to be really hard for me to talk about.
Oh my goodness.
Because never did I think that I would ever be in this position that I'm in currently with my husband. I'm going to try really hard to not get emotional because I have just completely exhausted myself with that, and I really hope I can just stay strong during this video and even after this video. Let me get a little towel out just in case I do start crying. I have my energy drink and I have my water. Okay. It's gonna be really hard. All I've ever had was my voice and my vulnerability, and I just feel really called to share my experience even if it feels really embarrassing. So I wrote everything out. I didn't want to lose focus, and I didn't want to make this a
What I
drawn out
wish I knew before getting married.
video, but I'm just gonna start sharing. I want to share my story because I know I can't be the only one going through this. I was in a relationship where I felt completely secure. I felt seen, heard, and valued. I truly believed that getting married would only make us stronger.
Wow.
But after we got married, everything changed. And it wasn't because of him directly, it was because of his family's influence, something I wasn't prepared for. I had never even.
We're going to pause this for 1 second. So sharing, we're getting different perspectives from different women about things that they wish they knew, getting advice. One thing I will say is, and she hasn't fully shared her story yet, but you can see her vulnerability. You can see the pain in her eyes, what she's experienced through her marriage. When you get married, you are marrying that person as well as their family. Now, depending on how close they are with their family, that determines the amount of impact and influence the family may have on their relationship. Although they may share aspects of the marriage with their family cannot be fully blamed for the way that your partner operates. So if your partner goes to his mother and his mother gives him advice, he's still a man at the end of the day, and he's able to go and conduct himself in a way that is going to be helpful to the marriage. So I don't want to get into this blaming game. You know, we say we listen and we don't judge. So the family does have impact and influence, but you do have to ultimately blame your partner for the final decision. They're the CEO, they're the head of the company, and they're the ones that are making the decision for the marriage.
Heard of the term enmeshment. I literally just learned that word yesterday, and I'm 32. So I've never heard that term before, but I am suddenly living it. Enmeshment is when a family is so emotionally entangled that there are no real boundaries, and loyalty to the family comes above everything, even a spouse. And I didn't realize how deep it was until after we got married. Looking back, there were signs, but I didn't see them as red flags because there wasn't an obvious problem before. There wasn't some huge family drama early on that made me take a step back and analyze. But enmeshment isn't always obvious until you're in a situation where your partner is forced to choose between you and their family. So here are some things that I had wished I paid attention to sooner that I would really like for you to reflect and ask yourself. Did your partner grow up feeling guilty for saying no to their family? Do they struggle to set boundaries with their parents or siblings? Do they get anxious or defensive if you bring up concerns about their family? Do they feel like choosing their spouse means betraying their family? I wish I had seen how he handled real conflict with his family before we got married, because once we did, I started noticing things that I had never seen before. The hardest part is that before marriage, I never questioned my place in his life. I always felt chosen, and I always felt like a priority. But after we got married, I started feeling like I was suddenly competing with his family, and that is one of the most painful feelings. To go from feeling completely secure in someone's love to feeling like you have to fight for your spot in their life. If you're engaged or you're in a serious relationship, this is my warning to you. Pay attention to the family dynamics. Watch how they handle conflict. Don't assume that just because everything feels great now, it will automatically stay that way after marriage. Because when family pressure comes into play, if your partner doesn't know how to set boundaries, you'll be the one who suffers for it. I wish we had done premarital counseling. I wish we had talked more deeply about family roles, expectations, and boundaries before we said I do, because I never expected to be here. I never expected to feel this alone in my marriage. And if you relate to this, just know you're not crazy. And you're not wrong for wanting to be prioritized in your marriage. And you're not alone. If there are others of you who have experienced this, where everything was perfect and then you thought getting married would make it stronger, and I just feel blindsided. I don't know. I don't know what to do. It's so dark and it's so heavy. And I just feel like this dark presence on my husband. And there's nothing that I feel like I can do about it.
Here's 5 things I wish I knew before I got married. Number 1, you need to learn how to talk to a man. People think it's automatically like if you're trying to prove your point to a man, you need to talk to him rough. You need to be relaxed. Like if he wanted to be with a man, he'll be with a man. You know, he's with a woman. You got to learn how to femininely, respectfully say what you're trying to say without having to be rough talk Roxy all the time. And he married you, not a pit bull. You need to learn how to talk about finances. If you're one of those people that cannot be honest about your finances and doesn't want anybody to ask you anything about your spending habits or anything like that, marriage may not be for you, and that's okay. But it's like, you have to know that that is something that you guys are going to deal with. And if you do not know how to talk about finances calmly and effectively, you're in for a rude awakening. Number 3, you need a safe space to communicate your emotions. So if the person that you're marrying cannot deal with emotions, it's probably best that they get with an unemotional person, which means that if you're somebody that feels all of your emotions, you need to be with somebody that can actually handle that. But if you're with somebody that's like nonchalant, that doesn't get why you feel sad, why you feel this, why you feel that, you're going to feel very lonely because you're always going to feel like your emotions are too much. So you need to be with somebody that actually understands how to actually dissect emotions. Number 4, and this is really, really important, pray after all of your arguments. I started doing this, let's say, from the time we were dating till now. And what it does for me, I don't know about him, but what it does for me, it actually helps my heart forgive for the offense. Because after somebody just says, I'm sorry, that doesn't make it go away. I actually need God's help to really get over that offense. So next time something like that comes, I'm not moving from a place of trauma. Oh, you always do this. You always do this. You always. It's like, no, like, okay, like we talked about this. We didn't like this. Like, I really didn't like how that felt the first time. I really don't want to do this again. But learning how to pray after the argument really just resets your heart to love your partner longer and better. But if you're constantly still in the same place of what he did last time or what she did last time, you probably didn't forgive, which means that you're holding that resentment in your heart, and it's going to make it harder for you to forgive. And number 5, handle as much as y'all can handle alone, like you, your man, and God, before you start involving people into it, because those opinions will affect how you see your partner, how you see your marriage, how you see your relationship. See how much you can handle between the two of you guys, and then have a trusted person that you both respect that you guys can go to and actually talk to about situations. But don't let your business scatter everywhere, because that just tends to leave space for a mess all the time. And marriage does not immediately mean fairy tale. It's work. You have to work.
I've been married for some years now, and it's just some things that I was sitting here thinking about that I wish somebody would have told me before getting married. And the things that I'm about to list, it really helped my marriage to grow on my end, because as women, I feel like sometimes we think that we're always the prize and we think that we're always the perfect ones in the marriage or relationship, but we be having our stuff with us too.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things in particular I feel like I should have known before getting married is, baby, don't take that ring off when you get mad. Don't. Like, it creates so much of a bigger problem than what you think. You thinking that you just mad and you just taking your ring off to make a point. But let me tell you something. One day after taking my ring off, my husband told me, he was like, when you take your ring off, it make me feel as though you 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Like, at any given time, you could just take your ring off and it just be that. Like, I have some more, but this is my last main one that I wish somebody would have told me before getting married. And that is to have the uncomfortable conversations. They are a must, y'all. Like, the conversations have to be had no matter how uncomfortable they are.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you they will grow your marriage. You will feel so connected to your husband or your wife that the conversation that you thought that you couldn't have is just, it will be like a weight lifted off of your shoulders. Remember, this is your partner in crime. This is who you are sharing your life with, living the rest of your life with. If you can't sit down and talk to them and tell them what's on your mind, whether you think it's going to hurt their feelings or not, now be careful how you word what you are saying.
Right.
It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it has to come out. So have those uncomfortable conversations. I guarantee you it will grow your marriage.
Hi, I got married, had a baby, and got a divorce all within 5 years. And here are some things that I wish I would have critically thought through before getting married. Caveat before anyone gets their booty hole in a twist, but this is not disparaging to my ex-husband. I am so grateful for this journey. I would not have had my son, who is the joy of my life. But looking back and being a few years past it, these are the things that I look back on and I'm like, First thing being, this person knows you. Obviously, you know each other, but do they know you? Do they know what you're like when you're about to start your period? Do they know what you're like when you have had the worst day of your life? And looking back, even the gifts that someone gets you tells you how well that they know you. And I wish that I had really critically thought about that from the perspective of, you know, we know each other and, oh, wow, it's so great. But do they really know you? Do they really know you? The second thing is, do you really understand what marriage means? And as a 22-year-old at the time, I thought I knew everything. And I grew up in a very conservative Christian household where you got married super young, you had like all of those things. And I don't think I really ever understood or critically thought about all of the things that are entailed when you are getting married. Yes, it is a lifelong commitment. You are going to go through the good and the bad and the ugly with this person. And yeah, it seems so like, duh, Courtney, of course you're going to have all of those things. But thinking about it critically, you're going to lose family members. There's going to be so much that happens in that lifetime. And are you sure this is the person that you can do that with? The last one is a little more specific, but what is going to happen inside of your marriage if your foundational beliefs that you align on, what if those things shift? If you have a marriage that is based on you guys agreeing on certain things or aligning on certain things, what happens to your relationship if those things shift? Does it fall into complete chaos? Are you able to work through it? Do you have a mutual respect for each other? All of these things are so important. And I know someone watching this is being like, yeah, no shit, duh, you should think of all these things. But when you're young and you're like, wow, marriage, wow, you're not really critically thinking about all of these things. You know, hindsight is always 2020, and I'm super grateful for everything that happened. I just think back to those things and I'm like, wow, I thought I knew better than everyone.
My husband and I have been married for almost 14 years, together for almost 17. And there are so many things I wish I knew before we got married. Here are a few of my favorites. Number one, he is not responsible for my happiness. I came into our marriage thinking that he was going to make me happy. And I quickly realized that that was not what God intended marriage for. Creating a safe space for my happiness to thrive, that is what marriage was for. That was his job. And that was what he was doing. Number two, don't make him what you want him to be, because it will take away from all that he is. Because if this is the person God sent to you, who this person is actually what you need. And it might take you a while to realize that. But trying to make them what you feel like you need is definitely going to take away from all the beauty and who they truly are. For instance, I want someone a bit more fiery, for lack of a better word. I need someone more fiery? Absolutely not. Why? Because I'm fiery enough. I needed a calm in the storm. Be prepared to do the work to make sure you are always deserving of the good man that they are. We as women are the prize. And I know that it's so shocking to hear, but a good man is the prize as well. That a good man and a good woman will be a good man and be a good woman. But will they be a good man and a good woman to you? That is all up to you. Loving your spouse, your wife or your husband, is a daily choice. Make sure you are always giving them a reason to stick around and fight it out with you. Number 4, leaving and cleaving is not just for the men. We must remember that once we get married, our spouse becomes our number one priority. Not to say that your parents or your siblings, cousins, and uncles are not just as important. You got to take care of your home first before you can take care of the homes outside of yours. Number 5, it is okay if he parents different than you. It's okay. Children need balance. Both of y'all can't be bad cop. Both of y'all can't be good cop. Somebody has to give these children peace while the other gives the children structure. Now, does the one giving the children structure never give them peace? No, they're supposed to be doing it. You could be, mother of the year, father of the year, whatever you want to be. Does that mean that the one that gives them peace never gives them structure? No, because then that's when those kids don't run over you. As long as it does not break you looking like a team in front of your children, it's okay. At the end of the day, our children definitely need that calm and storm. Because I am the storm. Number 6, baby, if you don't go to God before you go to that man, I promise you, you're going to ruin it all. Stop going to that man with y'all's problems or with your feelings before you talk those feelings out with God. Because I can promise you, when you go to God and you actually talk it out, God shows you what you need to be shown, or approach your partner with such a different mindset, so much more clarity. Stop thinking you about to get 100% of what you want out of somebody, what you feel like you need out of somebody. And you want to know something funny is the 80-20 rule. We really pay attention. The thing we think is 20% is actually the thing we probably need the most. Who God created for you is going to be designed just for you, for who you are and what you're about to go through in life. So at the end of the day, what you deem as 20% is actually the completion of the 80. Because at the end of the day, it's usually things that we need out of our partner that are opposite of who we are, that we don't necessarily always understand, but in hindsight, definitely going to see the whole picture. We're definitely going to see God's purpose for the connection. We're definitely going to see what God was thinking when he created this person just for you. My husband and I have been married.
So let's talk about all the things I wish I would have known before I became a wife. Now, I've been married for 1.5 years. I come from a 2-parent household. My parents have been genuinely happily married for the past 35 years. And I say genuinely because some people will say oh, my parents are married for 30, 40, 50 years, but their daddy has a whole nother family on the side and the mom's unhappy, all the things. No, my parents, I grew up seeing a genuinely healthy, happy marriage. And the point I want to make is that you can see something and still not know how to replicate it. And in my household, although I saw a healthy marriage, I didn't understand the marriage. I didn't understand why my mom made my dad's plate and he got 2 arms and 2 legs. But me, your child, I had to make my own plate. That did not clock for me. I'm never doing that. My husband will make his own plate because why? But now being married, I understand that was the way my mom served my husband, or her husband, excuse me, right? So one of the things I wish I would have known prior to getting married is that you can't just show up and be a thing. You actually have to do real work prior to obtaining the thing that you desire. And part of the reason that was such a different concept for me is because I've always been genuinely naturally good at stuff. School, always made straight A's. Went to the very best engineering school in the country, ran D1 track and field. I've always just been very good, or so I thought. I was just always very naturally talented at things. But marriage and being a wife and being submissive and holding my tongue and all the things, like that did not come naturally from me. It just didn't. That came naturally. Well, I thought it came naturally from my mother, but it did not translate to her offspring. So I had to do a lot of unlearning, relearning, adjusting. And of course, my husband had to do his own work. But this series is with girls who desire to be married. Maybe you're single or maybe you're even dating right now, but you need help. This is what this series is about, because we're going to get in the trenches of all the things I wish I would have known, the things I'm grateful I did prior to marriage, the things I wish I would have done prior to marriage, and I just wish I would have known prior to marriage to have just a smoother transition into wifehood, because, I mean, I'm grateful for all the lessons I'm getting because now I'm able to have this series with y'all, but just things I wish I would have known. So join me as we talk about all the things.
Okay, hey, so I've been married for 5 years, and let me do my disclaimers. I love my husband. I think he's amazing. He is my best friend, all the things. But there is one thing that I genuinely, wholeheartedly wish I had come across before we got married. And it's a specific conversation. I feel like you always get the conversation that's like, oh, you know, you need to choose marriage every day. You need to marry your best friend. You need to understand that finances are going to be a challenge if you guys aren't on the same page financially. You know what the thing I didn't hear enough about was how your childhood and your background is going to fundamentally impact your perception of family, money, dynamics, relationship, everything. And don't get me wrong, people are always like, oh, you need to marry somebody from a good family, or you need to marry somebody who has like similar values to you. That's not specific enough. Okay? Just take my word for it. That is not specific enough. And what I mean by that is I thought I had checked off all the boxes with him. We did premarital counseling. We're currently in therapy now because it's just a fundamental part of our relationship. We've always been in therapy, like from day one. That's just a role that we have for our relationship, and it helps us run smooth. And part of that process has been this revelation of realizing that despite the fact that we were on the same page about being believers, we were on the same page more or less about how many kids we wanted, we were on the same page about what we wanted life to look like, we are still two people who are coming from two different families, and every perception, every idea of what it is to be married, to have a family, to build a life together is intrinsically tied to how we were raised, what we saw growing up, and how we think that those dynamics and roles will play into our current family that we have, that we're building. The most liberating thing, I think maybe I call it the most liberating thing that I personally have received from being in marriage counseling is that you're not going to be able to get past how you were brought up, okay? And I don't mean that in a negative way. Like if you have trauma from your background, yeah, absolutely. You can like pray through that, work through that. But I mean like those seeds that were planted early on, we just are who we are. You know, we have things that we endear towards or that we appreciate, and it may not align with the other person. So the most important thing that you can do, whether you're single or engaged or married yourself and you're in an early marriage, you know, like us, is understand that your family is its own unit. You are your own little family, okay? And for me, I'm very close to my family. So I'm always like, oh, I love what they were doing. No, you guys are your own family. And you can take as much of the good as you want from your own family, but it is so, so important to understand that the path that you are carving and that you are moving forward in, it's just for you and your family. So you got to lock into that, and you got to be okay with that. And you have to be okay with it being new and maybe different and not feeling what you thought it was going to feel like. But yeah, like it, when I tell y'all, it whoops us on a regular basis. Like we literally always like, but I think this and I think that. And our poor marriage counselor is just like, oh, here they go having the same conversation about the same three things. But it's just, there are just some things that you're going to have to move past. And for us, a lot of times that is just perceptions that we didn't realize we were coming in with into our marriage, and how you build this new path forward based on who you actually are, not who you thought you were going to be. Okay, that's it. Love you. Bye. Okay.
This video is for all the married women. I want to ask a question. What is one thing you wish you would have known before you got married or in the beginning of your marriage? And also, I want you to put in the comments how long you have been married.
5 things I wish I knew when I was dating for marriage from someone who didn't get it right the first time. Keep in mind, someone can be a good person, but not a good match for you. If you're talking to a guy for marriage and feel the need to hide something about him from your friends and family, red flag for yourself. Deep down, you know that thing is not right and don't want your family to catch on. This may be because you really like him and want to protect his image and don't want to be talked out of it. Don't tell a man exactly what you're looking for. Instead, let him show you who he is. Telling someone exactly what you want is giving them a play-by-play on who to be in order to impress you. If someone wants you badly enough, they consciously or subconsciously make themselves fit the mold. The little things you convince yourself you can deal with will always become big things after marriage. If he's showing you habits or character that don't align with your core values, don't try to make it fit by telling yourself it isn't a big deal. Yes, it is. Actions speak louder than words. This guy is repeatedly showing behaviors that are indicative of his true character, but when you address your concerns with him, he always has these well-crafted responses to talk his way out of it. Stop giving him that opportunity and literally just trust your eyes, girl. Most importantly, it is imperative that we do inner work before even thinking about a relationship. A man will only love you to the extent you love yourself. We embrace the love we believe matches our value. You need to know you're the prize. Don't look for a partner to make you happy. Build so much joy within yourself that you want to share it with others, including your future husband. Bonus point, always trust your intuition. If Allah is sending you signs through intuition or dreams, don't ignore them. Let me know if you'd like to see a part 2. Bye.
As someone who's been married for 3 months, so basically I'm still in the probation period, yeah? Let me tell you some things that I really wish that people told me before I got married. Also, if you're new here, my name is Toby and I talk about all things wedding planning, also newlywed life, God, and all that good things. So if that sounds like a bit of you, come along for the ride. Okay, first things first. I really wish someone told me that nothing can prepare you for marriage other than being married. Now that might sound weird, but like, have you ever had that experience where like, oh, you can intellectually understand what it means to learn to drive, right? You can do the theory and everything, but you don't know how to drive until you drive, really. And that's, for me, in the past 3 months of marriage, that's what marriage has been like for me. Like, there's nothing that anybody could have told me that would have prepared me for being married. And that's not to say that the marriage is bad, because my marriage is sweet, honey, but nothing could have told me like how to prepare for our dynamic, how to prepare for being a wife, or how to just be married apart from actually being married. Second thing is, you always think you're right. There's nothing that anyone can tell you. You are always going to think you're right because of all the circumstances that has led to you being you at this point and the way that your brain works. You are going to think you're right. And actually, it takes so much effort to die to self and to really put the other person first. And I wish someone told me that. And they did, but I just don't think I really clocked into that. And the last thing is, and I'm actually really thankful for my family because they've been trying really hard with this, but this idea of transitioning from your family being your immediate family to now your husband or your wife being your immediate family. I didn't realize just how hard that transition would be. And it's just little soft things that you don't even realize, like, you know, making plans for this thing, or like you'll be so used to your mum or something picking up on these things because you live together and so they just know things, but you have to make an extra effort for your family to be aware of what's going on in your life because you're not living at home with them anymore. And so those are just 3 things that I've learned in 3 months of marriage that I wish I knew beforehand.
One of the things that I wish I knew before I got married was that the goal is not to win the argument. The goal is not to win the back and forth. The goal is to overcome the disagreement, whatever that looks like. And I'm gonna tell you something that you might not like to hear, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, whether you want to be a husband, whether you want to be a wife. The goal is not to be right. Sometimes overcoming the disagreement, sometimes winning the argument doesn't mean that you win. Sometimes it doesn't mean your ego gets stroked. Sometimes it means apologizing when you weren't really in the wrong or you don't feel like you were in the wrong. Sometimes it means, you know what, babe, let's circle back on this. Sometimes time is the solve to the disagreement. Sometimes there is no concession of a point. Sometimes it's simply, yo, let's talk about this later.
And look at how, so this is the first man that we've seen throughout the clips that have come with feedback. Look at how the difference is, right? Is when a man talks about the marriage versus when a woman talks about marriage and the things that they wish they knew. Like, this man is more like connected and connecting the dots between compromise in a marriage, right? Understanding that there's no winner in an argument, right? When you having a disagreement, we are individuals. Wife sees things differently than her husband, but that doesn't mean that there has to be even a winner in a disagreement, right? We could see things differently, agree to disagree, resolve the issue, and move past that. He says, don't just win the fight, overcome the disagreement, right? Overcome the challenge, overcome the blockage, overcome the issue that you are having so that you can resolve that and come together and continue on.
And sometimes there is no later because y'all forget about what the issue was to begin with. It took me and my wife the longest to get that understanding down pat. The goal is not to win this argument. The goal is to overcome the disagreement. And that doesn't mean, oh, I win, you lose, or you and I lose, or that's two for Jazz and you owe. No. Sometimes it's just coming to a place of understanding.
Because you're on the same team. You're on.
Back at it again with things.
Not battling one another. That's not your adversary, it's your partner, right? And so there is no winning. When both of you win, that's when it's won, right? It's you against the world sometimes. If you're in a good marriage where you articulate, where you communicate, then you win when you win together.
Things I wish I knew before I got married. Wedding edition. Y'all, I've said it once and I'll say it again. I did not have the best wedding experience. I'm so open about that because it's the truth, and I'm making this video because I would like for you to avoid any of those mistakes that I made personally. Number one, don't be so focused on planning for a wedding that you forget to plan for your marriage. I spent upwards of $10,000 for my wedding. I regret that wholeheartedly. We could have done something very simple, more intimate, and that money, put it towards a house.
Right.
But no, I went towards terrible food and inviting tons of people, most of which I don't even talk to anymore, which brings me to my next point. Your wedding is one of the most special days of your whole life. Make sure that people who you actually want to be there are there. Don't do it to please anyone.
Right.
Your parents might pressure you to invite family members that you don't really talk to or like for that matter. Your colleagues might want to go. Your church might want to. Listen, invite whoever the heck you want to invite. It's your wedding day. Some venues are charging up to $60 per plate. You want to make sure that those are people that you actually want to be there. Which brings me to my next point. Please thoroughly vet your wedding venues. We made the horrible mistake of visiting one and sticking with it. Not only were they super expensive, they really fooled us when it came to the food. They served us boxed mashed potatoes and cold chicken on my wedding day. Need I say anything else? But they went out of business last year. I wonder why. Now, something personal. Make sure that you and your spouse schedule some time to be alone with each other. Now, this is something that I actually wish I would have done. I didn't get too much time alone with my wife during the wedding. We spent way too much time taking pictures. We spent way too much time in the reception. And, you know, I just wish I would have been with her a little bit by ourselves. Our first moments being married. You should do that. Next point. Be ready for things to go wrong. If you decide to go with a big wedding, there are going to be so many details that some of them are just bound to go wrong. Please remember that the focus of the wedding is not whether the centerpiece is right or not. It's the fact that you get to marry your favorite person, which is actually how I managed to cope with so many things going wrong on my wedding day. I went there to get married to my favorite person on this planet, and that's exactly what I did. Doesn't matter how many things kept going wrong, nothing could ruin that experience. Oh, bonus tip. Make sure you feed the photographers and the DJ up front. They're going to be working the whole day and the whole night, so to expect them to go that entire day without eating is very selfish. These are little details that don't get talked about enough, but they are human. They also need to eat. I feel like I'm missing a lot of things, so if you want another part to the wedding segment of this, let me know and I'll make it.
Something I really wish I knew when it came to choosing a husband is that a man who procrastinates his dreams is a man who procrastinates everything. If a man cannot show up for himself, he will not be able to show up for you. If a man is telling you that he got all these aspirations and goals and you ask him about when he gonna start and it's always another time, he's never gonna be able to show up for you because he cannot show up for himself. He lacks discipline. Girl, he can't lead no household. He can't even lead himself in the direction that he want to go. So what about you being the neck and him being the head, baby? You cannot guide him because he can't even be a head. He letting you know right now he cannot be a head. He cannot even lead himself correctly. So that means that when you're trying to guide him, there's going to be resistance because he has a hard time with discipline. He has a hard time with structure. He has a hard time committing to things. There's so much that you can unpack when it comes to somebody procrastinating on something that they want to do. That is a red flag to me.
It is a huge red flag.
Things I wish I would have known early in my 20s when I got married young that I know now. I'm going into my 30s. Your husband needs respect, and that means your attitude too. And dinner doesn't have to be perfect every night. Just make something you know he likes. Not everything you feel or see needs to be said. Sometimes you should go pray about it, process it, and let God do the work. 90% of your arguments in your marriage will be about your tone of voice and when you chose to have the conversation that may have not been the best time. Marriage has a tendency to expose like all your dirt. So really think about that when you're getting married. Marriage only exposes your trauma, exposes the things that need to be healed. And that's what you should be ready to focus on. Don't take away your husband's freedom out of your own fear. You're not his God. You can't fix or help him become a man or make good decisions. You have to trust that he's going to make the right decisions.
Right.
Pray for your spouse every time you want to criticize him, even if he did the wrong thing, because he needs prayer. We all need prayer. There is room for your needs to get met too. Even if you're a stay-at-home mom, you guys have kids, pick some time out of the day to focus on you. There's room for you.